Hangouts on Air is going away August 1st. For quick streaming, try youtube.com/webcam. And of course, I got started here just a couple minutes late. In true Hangouts on Air fashion, went to fire up the live stream and it didn't recognize my camera, and I had to unplug things and leave the Hangout room and come back. And well, it's a sort of a fitting beginning to the end of a service which could have been awesome, but is another entry on the list of Google products and services what Google will be killing. Just a disappointing turn of events, if you will. So LFA reviews, standard Hangouts process. It's not a Hangout on Air if you don't have to unplug and plug things in and futz with settings and stuff. So yeah, it's good times. What's up, everybody? I don't really have any hard planned out, table of contents, list of topics to get through. I kind of felt like it would be fitting to send off Hangouts on Air with one last live stream using Hangouts on Air. Obviously, there's still going to be other YouTube live streaming solutions, but the thing about Hangouts on Air that made it so special was its ability to co-stream. So for those of us that really liked putting together interviews, we liked having guests on podcasts. We liked having a broadcastable single point of networked production. This was a really beneficial tool to have in our arsenal, and it's one that we obviously complained a lot about. I literally every single Hangouts on Air broadcast I've tried to set up has had some kind of hilarious problem. But it still didn't mean that we wanted it to fail. We complained because it was an amazingly unique tool and we wanted it to succeed. And it's something that still hasn't been properly replicated on any other major streaming platform. Like co-streaming through Twitch is kind of a bigger pain in the butt and a lot more bandwidth intensive because you've got to have some kind of video call type platform, which is then rebroadcast through some other type of service or plugin. So I know a lot of folks have been going through and trying to figure out what's our solution gonna be? What streaming service do we use next? What do we move to? And I don't think anyone's found a great answer to that. Fat Produce. The curse of the lower third was Hangout's downfall. Just for old time's sake, let's give it a shot. Let's see. I'm going to go to my Hangouts toolbox. And it's loading. I'm going to say I want to do a lower third. And nothing. How amazing would that have been if the lower third for Hangouts on Air what was fixed? From Chet's, hey, at One Bagnell, you can stream on Twitch in the just chatting section. The problem isn't streaming one person talking to a camera. The problem is, what do I do when I want to have a guest on? I know there are ways that you can kind of co-stream so that you can have two Twitch channels sort of working in tandem, but there hasn't been anything to replace the single point of upload download traffic that was Hangouts on Air. Let's see. Fat Produce. VR chat is the future of YouTube co-streaming. We're actually holding off on another Geek Book Club because Andrew and I really want to try and do something ambitious, like stream an entire podcast in VR. So we'll see what that is. Aditya Anil, what's the lower third? The lower third is any type of banner or graphic that lives down here that gives you that little information, like my name and my Twitter handle or something like that. And again, Hangouts on Air used to have a native plugin for that. You see that a lot more now with some sort of co-streaming software like OBS. So I keep a, at SomeGadgetGuy really obnoxiously pinned to the bottom third of my screen. So a lower third can identify you for that. Again, it was one of those things we could tell that Google wasn't really taking this seriously when things like lower thirds used to work really well, and then they would refresh the UI and change some plugins and move the toolbox around, and then stuff would get broken. And then, of course, there's never any feedback from Google as to what's going on or how things can be fixed. Sneed Mobile Tech is the custom camera selection, not an effective option for creators to live stream. All of those tools are great. I mean, I can still fire up a YouTube live stream on something like OBS. I can use OBS to feed the camera plugin for Google directly through the webcam feature on YouTube. Again, the big problem is the big question that we all need to answer is what is going to be the most efficient way to have two or more people participate in one live stream. And you have to factor in upload and download speeds because someone will have to host, then someone else will have to manage a video call, and all of those things need to happen simultaneously with as little lag as possible and then be rebroadcast out to the audience. And that's kind of a heady problem if you don't have a system in place for sort of having a live video call, which is then immediately rebroadcast. It would be nice if, like Skype, for example, would give us stream key support so that like we could put in our Twitch stream key and then you can record a Skype call. The quality is kind of crap, but you can do it, and you can do it with as many people that are involved in that call. So it'd be really cool if we could plug in and say, hey, we've got this Skype call sending a feed directly to a Twitch server, which is then broadcasting to Twitch instead of me having to have a separate upload on the same computer that I'm doing the Twitch call from, because really I just don't have great bandwidth for that. Got plenty of download, but I'm only rated for a 20 megabit upload. And we all know that's not 20 megabit sustained. So I've got to be able to video call up and video stream up at the same time. My computer has plenty of horsepower. It has no problems handling that from a computational standpoint. My crap internet cannot handle those and keep the stream reliably consistent and at a decent enough quality that you'd want to watch it. So yeah, that's exactly what Andrew was saying. Trek Yards and Android Police use Skype and broadcast via OBS. And again, I'd be curious to know what their uploads, what their bandwidth actually resembles. If any of them have more than sort of a sustained 20 meg, then I think that would work really, really well. BJ Gray 7, I'm not sure what Droid Life uses, but I think they switched from Hangouts and it seems to be working for them. Sneed Mobile Tech, upload speed is more of an issue now. From Raul Shum, Microsoft and Google don't mix. Well, Microsoft and Amazon maybe could be fine. Again, I think they would both benefit from Skype having a plugin. Not like Skype is going to take over anything substantial, but Skype having a plugin, Twitch being able to piggyback on that, just like Twitch gets to piggyback on every other type of broadcasting software and Restream get to benefit from services like Twitch and Mixer. All of those things could work together. So that could be pretty cool. See, Sneed Mobile Tech, I'm getting about 30 to 40 meg up. I would love to start pushing into the old school fiber 50 megabit uploads. Who could think at that speed? This is getting ridiculous that cable companies get to keep claiming that we don't need faster internet, and we definitely don't need faster upload speeds. What would you want to be able to upload? High quality video calls, like, that no one needs it. Except that we all kind of are starting to need things like that. LFA reviews, I can't stand my Comcast connection. 350 down and 10 up. Oh, that sucks. That's where we were for a really long time. We were 200 down and 10 up. And I would I would give anything. Like, I don't need 200 down as much as I reliably need 50 up. Just anything, anything to move the needle on that, and it still hasn't happened. As soon as I can give anyone else my money, I will disappear from Spectrum's roster of customers. Ed Modlin, it sucks when T-Mobile beats Spectrum. And see, and I want it in a cable. As much as you can get these sort of like good, solid, reasonable, fast LTE connections, nothing is going to beat a cable what runs through your wall and plugs into a modem. In terms of consistency, in terms of network congestion, in terms of bandwidth. If our cable companies had ever lived up to their promises and their obligations in rolling out fiber, we'd all be doing a lot better. Our services would be a lot cooler. We would have better medical tech. We'd have better fitness tech. We'd have better video calling services. Like, all of these things would be way more competitive. But there's no money in improving competition when one company can just sit out and force a local monopoly. Studio Geek 32, what time is Hangouts on Air going to be gone? So, according to all of the pop-ups that I've been messing with, Hangouts on Air is disappearing August 1st. So, tonight is the last night, supposedly, that you should be able to do a Hangout on Air. So, that's it. Is done. Is gone. DCJ reviews. I'm getting about 100 down and lucky if I get 10 up. It's so gross. I mean, it really is. It's really disgusting seeing like how little progress is actually being made community to community. Sneed Mobile, municipal internet is the solution. Full gig symmetrical for $50 a month. I would debase myself in the most hilarious ways possible if we could roll out municipal broadband here in Los Angeles. I covered it almost 5 years ago, where we were on like a 5-year impact study to see what we could do to get gigabit internet to business sectors here in Los Angeles. You want to talk about the downside of being liberal? It's in all of the zoning and the approvals process and the impact reports, and then still basically just giving everything over to mega corporations anyway. It's been very disappointing watching this stall over and over and over again. LFA, I want symmetrical internet 25-25, and I'm happy 50-50 even better. I mean, you see, 50 down, 50 up would be a welcome improvement on what I have right now. The faster download speeds are fine. I mean, I like being able to download a movie in like a minute, and that's great. And you can stream 4K and all that stuff is super, super helpful. But this is getting galling, seeing how the future of data services, like cloud services, backup services, all of that stuff is sort of dependent now on getting more information up a pipe. And we're still being told, oh, but you don't need that. From Abraham Artemis, it's like my country's silly Ministry of Communication and Information said, what's the use of fast internet speed? And that person needs to be taken out behind the woodshed. DCJ reviews. This again, I like would piss me off royal. Fiber is almost literally covering my town. It's just not available to anyone. So gross. Just so gross. Zach Talks Tech. Hangouts will go down at midnight Pacific time. Hey, who wants to try and talk till midnight? We only got 2 hours and 45 minutes to go. Yeah, let's do it. Oh, Steve, getting symmetrical gigabit for $56 Canadian, but I need to upgrade my motherboard. Do that. Do it. Get that gigabit. What? I mean, you should get offline right now and go fix that. I want that so bad. So yeah, so them's the breaks. We're losing another kind of cool Google service. Again, something that could have been branded and packaged, something I think many of us would have happily paid for, knowing that it would have been on a robust network of servers, that it would have tied directly into our YouTube accounts. Something that really brought a lot of benefit. Doing the show with Board at Work. We produced that podcast for what, like 5 years. Every week, we'd get a group of people together. Sometimes, like 5 or 6 people, and kind of yell at each other about technology. And now that's something that's going to be a bit more difficult to pull off. And especially pull off in a way that's consistent, that everyone can kind of tap into a similar style of service. Even when that service is kind of broken in some respects, you at least know what to expect, and how to handle it, and how to work with it. But I've even been using them as backups. So when I've been doing my creator chat podcasts, I often host that through a Hangout on Air, and keep that as a recorded backup just in case anything happens, or a recording gets borked, or someone accidentally deletes a file or something like that. Is very it was exactly at the right time. It wasn't ahead of its time. It was exactly at the right time. It was an amazing collaborative service. We got these little hints that they might be taking it even more seriously. They were working with higher quality audio codecs if musicians wanted to try and collaborate. Um, yeah, I mean, it sucks because we kind of got these little glimmers of hope that this was going to be something that Google was sort of invested in, and that they were going to be offering as one of those great those like those I'm going to say something key services for content creators. Steve, the Google graveyard is starting to feel crowded. Aditya Anil, are you challenging yourself to talk for 2 hours? Have you seen your podcast? Yeah, but I usually tap out at 2.5. I don't know. I can make it to 3 hours tonight. Zach Talks Tech. Ticked that Google canceled the Google Trips. Board at Work. What's up? Board at Work. How's it going, man? We're all vetching, airing of grievances. Chris Lopez. Why are they getting rid of it? No idea. Again, Google has become one of those black box, um, uh, black box kinds of companies. You don't get any type of after action. You don't get any type of reporting. They love to throw stats at you. Like my YouTube channel, again, hour to hour, they love showing me how I'm underperforming and how I'm not doing well enough, even though I'm still getting like hundreds of thousands and millions of minutes of watch time. And oh, but this one video you just now published is dipping 5%, so we're not going to notify your subscribers that your video is out. And then when you go and get demonetized or something like that, they never tell you why. They never tell you how you can improve. They never tell you what it was that triggered their systems. You just have to guess. So who knows? It's a strange and complex system. I would just imagine that the original team of engineers on Hangouts on Air probably got moved to other projects, and then they were just left with a maintenance crew. Then that maintenance crew probably got moved to other projects, because Google has no sense of completion. There's never sort of like a long-term outlook or timeline or game plan for something like this. And then it just was costing them money. And rather than trying to improve it, or to, again, offer sort of a paid version or a professional YouTube kind of platform of tools, just get rid of it. I mean, most people aren't really doing things like co-streaming or interviewing when they just fire it up. So most people are going to be fine with just a YouTube webcam type of live stream service, which again is super short-sighted, and leaves a handful of content creators out in the cold, which is kind of a pain in the butt. It's not fun. From Steve. I wouldn't feel bad if I fell asleep during the stream. My alarm is set to ring in 7 hours. Ed Modlin, going the way of Google Wave. Man, I loved Google Wave. Google Wave was so cool. Again, this is the backbone of collaborative workspace. That one was ahead of its time. But when we were running the movie review show, Movies You May Have Missed, we would try and do these online movie meetups. So we would all start a movie at the same time, and then we would use some type of platform to try and like live blog it, MST3K it. And the first one we did was The Hurt Locker, and I was scrambling like for all of the fans, and this wasn't at its peak, but this was early on in MYMHM's run. But we were like, we had just broken into like solid 5, sometimes 6-figure downloads a month. So we had thousands of people. And this was when Google Wave was still invite. So I was scrambling. I mean, like anyone who wants one, I will try and get you invites. And my wife and my co-host, my best friend, we each were like signing up as many email accounts as we could, and then making people promise like, you're gonna get 5 invites. You need to share them with these people. And I think we did. We had so many people in one Google Wave thread that by the end of the movie, we couldn't load the wave anymore. Like we crashed Google Wave. It was pretty awesome. That was a really fun night. Again, in the moment, you're like, oh, this sucks. Worked so hard to get all these people, and we couldn't even finish the movie with everybody. But then you also realize, like, we had so many people, we broke a Google product in this, and I can't even like show anybody. I can't even like tell anyone about it. It was like so long ago. And then also, just Google Wave got killed too. LeBaron Burton, what's good, Juan? I'll punch that back. And Steve, I'm afraid about the longevity of Stadia with all these services closing down one after the other. The thing I'm excited about for Stadia is proof of concept. I have zero faith in Google for any type of long-term solution. I just do not believe that they're gonna maintain the focus and the fortitude to keep that platform up and running in light of how well Microsoft has been blowing up the sort of web service console gaming space. I would be shocked if by the end of 2020, Steam doesn't have some type of strategic partnership for game streaming. I would pay Steam $15 a month to be able to play any game in my Steam library anywhere I have an internet connection on a web browser. That's a huge infrastructure of servers and making sure that they've got the platform for it and working out all the bugs. It's not going to be easy, but I would be very surprised if Google isn't facing competition from the real names in gaming by the end of next year. Microsoft was showing off XPlay 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago now? I mean, you combine something like that with Game Pass. I mean, again, that would be killer. What Google will show off is a cool proof of concept. You can stream the game, but you still have to buy the game. You'll never really own the game because it's going to stream through this platform. We've come to accept that with Steam. Steam has proven that they're going to keep your library intact. And I can go back and play games from years ago, from when I first started buying games on Steam. So now Google has to put in similar work. And I don't think any of us believe they're really going to do it. Aditya, no. What is preventing Google from pulling the plug on YouTube one day? Hangouts was seriously useful given the number of adpocalypse-like instances in the past 2 years. Will they pull the plug on YouTube as well? I don't think they'll ever just straight pull the plug, but I think the writing on the wall is pretty clear. I think the long-term goal for Google on something like YouTube is to take that brand name, that high recognition brand name, and turn it into any other subscription or television style service. I subscribe to YouTube TV. There's YouTube Music or YouTube Red or any of these other premium offerings. They've increasingly been trying to devalue the sort of home content creator motif. Like they don't want to be associated with, cat videos and terribly recorded cell phone video from general consumers. They're trying to turn their brand into something a bit more upscale. They're not going to be throwing as much money into creating their own originals. That didn't seem to pan out for them. Again, with only 1 year of experimenting. But that doesn't mean that they can't become a platform for licensing and streaming and everything else and be a premium competitor in this space. Oh, and Steve DeRoche kicking in a super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. This is very likely going to be one of the very last nights where any type of super chat action is going to be applicable. I've switched my podcast over to Twitch, and I'll be looking for other solutions to host things like interviews. So this could be it. This really, like, I'm going to be saying goodbye to other things here on YouTube too. That's hilarious. Ed Modlin, proof of concept is far different than the actual product. Oh, totally. That's why I have zero. And again, I hope Google can prove me wrong, but just like we're dealing with today, I don't think I'm too far off base in saying I just don't have a lot of faith in Google's ability to execute long term. So what I think we're going to be, I think what we're going to be in store for is Google scaring all of these bigger traditional gaming platforms into doing something similar. And that's great. I'm actually really excited about that. Steve Narosh with another super chat. Game over, man. Game over. Last one for tonight. Well, much appreciated. Thank you for supporting the very last Hangout on Air on this YouTube channel. That is super cool of you. I appreciate it. A super sticker. Bored at work. Game Pass is so golden. Microsoft Project xCloud played very well at E3. xCloud, not xPlay. xCloud. I just Microsoft is going to be the Netflix of gaming. Google is showing us how the server side will work. They are not putting together the platform and the catalog. Microsoft has the platform and the catalog. They need to work out the streaming. I feel like the platform and the catalog are more important than just the nuts and bolts of what make game pop up on web browser. And it's not like Microsoft doesn't have a huge infrastructure and server side services. So I think they're gonna win the day on that. Sharil Abdul Rahman, here's hoping Stadia does not game over too fast. Again, I mean, I want Google to prove me wrong. I hope they don't. I don't know. I mean, what do we think? Like 3 years? Maybe? Because they'll have people's money, and then they'll have people having purchased games on the platform. So it would be a very bad and a very loud visceral reaction if they just pulled the plug and ran away. So I just don't see them doing it. Even if it's not profitable, it'll just sort of wither for a couple years, and then Google will quietly discontinue it. More super chats. Bored at work. Bong. Thanks, man. And Aditya Anil. So my VPN works. I'm now in a super chat supported location. Wink, wink. I just almost knocked over my camera. Awesome. I worked so hard to replace my camera so it doesn't have that weird, like, cracked lens fogginess. And I almost just throw it off the table. Chris Lopez, and I do like Duo. I hope that doesn't go away. It seems like they've finally stuck. So it looks like Messenger with RCS and Duo will be their communications solution. Hopefully that works for a while too. I'm still technically on Hangouts because of how Hangouts supports text messages, but I'll probably be moving back over to Messenger soon. So we'll see. And bored at work. My biggest issue with game streaming is data caps, which is going to kill a lot of people. Yeah. The interesting thing about game streaming, I don't think in the near term game streaming is going to find new gamers. I was listening to someone talk about, like, this could be really democratizing. You don't need to buy an expensive console. You don't need to buy an expensive PC, and you can get into gaming. But the problem is you can't do that unless you live in an area with good bandwidth. You can't do that unless you live in an area where you'd be able to stream without worrying about maxing out your cap. Not that you don't have a cap, just that you don't worry about the financial implications of exhausting your cap. And I think in the near term, the list of people that fit that criteria, they live in upscale enough markets to stream a game and they can afford to max out data, are people that already are probably affluent enough to handle the financial side of high quality gaming. Uh, you don't find new consumers outside of that place. So it's disappointing. I think that's actually going to hold all of this back. And again, it's also because our country has a terrible infrastructure. If you're not sort of blessed to be in a city where you've got reasonably decent internet, like where I'm at, then you're proper out in the cold. Steve DeRoche. I was actually going to mention the hairline crack. Oh, it's gone. So okay, so here's what was fun. The camera I used to use for my live streams was my Samsung NX30. That camera was busted on a Pocket Now trip, and I only ever got a loaner camera back out of Pocket Now. So I borrowed a Panasonic for a while just to kind of wrap up the last like 6 months of producing over at Pocket Now, but it left me without a camera. But everything was still functional. It just cracked the anti-aliasing filter and what vibrates to clean off the sensor. Everything was fully functional. So I just sort of purposely, I mean, one of the reasons why I set up everything on the bookcase the way I did was to help kind of hide how the shadow would wrap. And so I purposely angled and then kept it on the side of the bookcase so the shadow would line up with the hairline crack. It looks way worse when it's not lit. when you're just trying to take photos. And there is like this black gouge running through a third of the frame. Oh, Easy Computer Solutions. What's up, bud? Thanks for jumping in, man. I appreciate you stopping by so that we can all say goodbye to Hangouts, because this is something I know this was you used Hangouts a lot too for your live streams. So anyway, I finally replaced my main production camera. I'm sticking with Panasonic. So now I've got my older Panasonic, which is what's running this, on a pretty decent lens. I'm using the Olympus 17 millimeter, which is pretty gorgeously shallow for micro four thirds. And I had all of these Samsung NX lenses. I dumped Canon and I went all in on Samsung, and Samsung left me behind, and they killed off a product line that I was super excited about. And I don't think I'll ever forgive Samsung for killing the NX camera line. But I had all these lenses. I finally replaced my main production camera. I got a new kit lens. I've got the, what is it? It's the 1235 f2.8, which is a pretty nice piece of glass to be doing, to be using as my zoom lens. So I just put up all of my Samsung lenses up on eBay, and that auction closed today. So I got a little bit more than I was expecting for 4 Samsung NX lenses. Apparently, there are still a handful of people out there that shoot on NX. And so I took everything, I dumped it all into a box, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to do anything with this NX30. So I have the NX30, and my kit lens has 2 little hairs and a ton of dust in the lens element. So I didn't feel right about selling it, but I took all of that and I just sort of put it in the box too. So I'm going to send it to the person who won the auction for my NX lenses and be like, okay, here's the deal. The camera is not broken, but the filter on the sensor is cracked. But you could get that replaced. Samsung quoted me $250 to replace the crack in that sensor, in sensor guard. So you could recycle this. You could do anything you want with it. But I know you bid on an auction for 4 lenses, so here's 5 lenses and a camera. And I'm hoping they don't think that's like so weird, or they like they mark me, you know, on. I can't imagine that they're gonna be like punitive in my eBay seller rating, but it is kind of weird to be like, oh, and here's some extra junk in this box because I don't need it and I'm gonna get rid of it too. What do we got here in the live chat? Oh, sorry, I missed a super chat. Fat Produce. Andrew Wallace, did you see LG and Sony smartphone sales woes? Yeah, not good news. Not good news for either LG or Sony. I'm going to be doing a little college podcast next week, and the main thing they wanted me on to talk about was LG smartphones and where we all think they're going wrong. I think it's important just to kind of keep pace, though, where Samsung is looking at some significant cuts to their mobile business, especially some of the talent that's used in their high-end and premier line. And then also Apple saw a dip too. I think their recent sales showed something like a 12% drop year over year in sales too. So if Apple is suffering a 12% drop, I mean, 20% is real bad. 20% year over year drop this quarter for LG sales. That's proper bad. But in light of where the whole industry is going and where the whole market is going, it seems about right. It seems about right given how everyone is kind of getting a little burnt out on increasing costs, incremental updates, and a lack of vision. I think we're seeing a significant lack of vision. 5G is not going to solve any of these problems. Folding phones have potential, but that's a potential that won't be realized until we work out some significant manufacturing issues. And then also just some philosophy. I don't want a clumsy, fragile tablet that folds into an awkward, fragile phone. I want something that changes my relationship with apps and services that can be more convenient or can be more practical, or maybe also allows me to save costs somewhere else. So for all of the excitement about folding phones, I don't see any significant benefit in the short term. But what I do hope is by making the software smarter for things like changing screens and aspect ratios, that what we'll get are smarter phones that can then power other things like tablet docks, laptop docks. You show me a $2,000 phone, or I can stick with the same phone form factor that I currently have and plug this into a $200 tablet dock or a $300 laptop dock. So for $1,000, I have a phone and a laptop in one, as opposed to a $2,000 phone that can't be anywhere near sand. Ed Modlin, W2F is LG thinking? I have no idea. And Ed Modlin, Sony screwed themselves. See, DCJ Reviews has it. This has been consistently my biggest gripe with LG. They need to focus on what they do better than anyone else and focus their marketing dollars there and actually spend some marketing dollars, because they run away all the time. Chris Lopez, yeah, I like LG, but they suck at updates. Not great. I mean, my G8 just kind of caught up with security patches. That was actually pretty happy to see. I think the thing that I keep trying to keep in perspective is like LG and Samsung are both pretty bad. I mean, neither company can roll out the kind of focus that you'll get on a OnePlus, because OnePlus supports far fewer phones. But the thing I'll give LG credit for is when they release a phone with a ton of advanced features on it, they don't get rid of those features when they change the UI. So I'll never forgive Samsung for abandoning the NX camera line. I'm never going to forgive Samsung for gutting the camera app on the Note 9. You spent $1,000 on a smartphone. The Note should be the crown jewel, baller, kitchen sink, does everything device. And then they roll out one UI and you get your update. Ooh, how exciting. You got your update, but then your camera's gimped. And without any like solid support for the Camera 2 API. So you can't even replicate those features by installing another camera app. That's not good software. That's terrible. That's horrible support. And especially if you bought that phone for features like having that kind of control and that kind of access. If I'd been stuck with a Note 9, I'd be screaming. I'm shocked that we haven't seen some people float the notion of like a class action. You know, you removed features from a $1,000 phone, and everyone was just sort of fine. Oh, it's okay. I guess we'll get over it. Like, I'll stick with LG just because they won't gut my phone, even if I won't get maybe it's better I don't get software updates on LG if they're planning on getting rid of stuff there too. It's pretty bad. Um, let's see. Steve DeRoach, Jason from Painfully Honest Tech, posted a positive review of the LG V50, so there's that. Again, I mean, it's easy to say a few nice things about the LG. Um, it's just sort of accepting that a phone like a V50 is a niche device. It's not, oh, what you're saying is everyone should go and buy one. It's who is this the right fit for? I'm staring at this Xperia One right here. This phone is gorgeous. I love this phone. It does so many things uniquely better than its competitors, but just by acknowledging it's not going to be a phone for everybody should never be taken as condemnation. It should be, we've got to find who this phone is the right fit for. There are people out here who will adore this phone where they would just sort of get by on another device. But instead, it's just sort of this all or nothing, black or white, thumbs up, thumbs down, winner, loser. That's not fun. That's not why I got into talking about tech. Kenyon Millardo, what is your favorite smartphone so far in 2019? Oh man, that is tough. That is really hard. My usage is a bit incomplete. Um, right now, out of the phones that I've really spent time with, I would say the OnePlus 7 Pro is probably the best pocket computer. It's a wonderful consumption device, multimedia consumption device. It is still the most fluid. It's just a screaming fast user interface. But if I have to leave the house and I can only take one phone with me, it would still probably be an LG. So right now, that looks like an LG G8. I recently I got to go and do a test drive. Running one of the I'm going to hopefully have a video out on this early next week. I went down and there's a part of the PR team for Fuel e-bikes is down in Santa Monica. So I got to ride on one of their prototypes. It still had like cables just jutting out from the frame and the batteries. It's this dual battery system on a pedal, a motor assisted bicycle. But like the batteries fit, but they weren't perfectly flush with the frame. I mean, it was really cool getting like hands on while the bike was still like, yeah, this thing was hand built. It was really cool. The entire video I shot on the G8, 4K, 60 frames per second. I'm going to be doing a lot of like slow down, half speed. I did a couple like ride bys where I was shooting 240 frame per second slow mo, but I could lock off the focus and keep the exposure set, plugging in mics. So I was doing all of my talking to camera on a wireless lav, controlling the levels on the phone, all of that baked directly into the G8. It's not nearly as nice as a gaming platform or as a video streaming platform. Actually, it's still pretty nice for streaming video. I will give it that. But you know, because of all the extra custom software running on top, like a Samsung, it gets stuttery, it gets twitchy, it gets laggy. Not nearly as fluid as what you have on the OnePlus 7. But if I have to do things, I lean on an LG. If I just want to watch things, I'm loving the OnePlus. It's really good times. From Raul, Note 4 for life. Easy computer solutions. No pro mode. You've been on that quest too, man. You've been launching into that also. See, I've heard people say stuff like this. From Kenyon Millardo, if LG had stock Android, I would buy it. And part of the thing that makes LG unique would also probably get in the way of using a pure, simple, stock Android experience. I like that they took risks on things like the time of flight sensor. Air gestures are too hard to nail the choreography. It works well. It works really well. But the fact that you have to have such specific choreography limits the limits the amount of use that feature is really going to get. I'm very excited for the Pixel 4. I'm really hoping that Google has pulled this off better, because we've been seeing companies flirt with this since the Galaxy S3. To do it right would be awesome. But what LG did right was more secure face scan and palm unlock. Those two totally worth including the time of flight sensor, as far as I'm concerned, on a phone that costs less than a Galaxy S10. You have to write a lot of custom code to support things like a quad DAC, the cinema modes in the camera app, and all of the other little quality of life features that actually do set LG apart. I think what I've seen when we look at phones like the Nokia 9, it's it's easy to get your security patches and updates, but Nokia has struggled to really refine all of the custom stuff that has to happen under, sort of behind the scenes to make their crazy hardware work well. So again, I you could probably make an LG One device and then just have a couple plugins that manage things like the headphone jack. But I just don't think it's quite as easy as what us gadgets enthusiasts think it might be, when we look at what it really takes to make a pocket computer and update it and try and include those features that really do set it apart from the competition. From Fat Produce, how's your photo experience been with the Xperia One thus far? So really, I've been shooting mostly with their cinema camera. I haven't. I'm way behind. This is a loaner phone, so I can't keep it forever. Next week, I'm going to be trying to get out of the house hard, to shoot with the Xperia One and go get all my night shots and stuff done too. I'm still having flashbacks on how much I dislike the way the camera functions in auto mode. Just the regular Sony camera app still just it feels like it's working against me more than it's working for me. But then the second you fire up their cinema app, all of that kind of melts away. And this, so far, it looks like it's the top competitor to an LG. If you're trying to make things, if you really want to shoot something good from your phone, the Xperia One looks like it's a very, very close second place to all the things I like about LG devices. Easy Computer Solutions using Filmic Pro on Samsung. Have you been playing with that on an S10? Can you use Filmic Pro on the ultra wide or on the zoom cameras? If so, that would be a huge help. But from what I understood, all that stuff was kind of locked up. Kind of like, again, I love my OnePlus 7, but man, I wish I had raw access on the zoom and the ultra wide, and I really wish I could shoot video from the ultra wide without having to dance through that weird dialer code hack and flip to the selfie camera and flip back and then stand on one foot and then sort of deliver a satanic incantation at the right time of night to get that feature launched on the OnePlus 7. It'd be nice if you could just push a button and have that work. I just want it to work. It just needs to just work. Victor Hugo, did you see Android 9 for the V20? Oh, that's cool. No, I didn't. I didn't notice. I didn't know that they were working on that. I finally saw some of the updates for the V30. Unfortunately, mine's on AT&T, and I probably won't be able to get it updated. I'm gonna try and walk into an AT&T store and see if I can just bribe a tech. Like, can you just flash this for me? I'll say something nice about you on my podcast and see what they can do. Victor Hugo, would you drop the G8 for the V50? That's tough because I actually really do like the smaller size of the G8. I like the time of flight sensor. I think that's more important than having the dual selfie cameras because I never shoot anything with the selfie cameras. I don't really care about 5G, and I probably won't care about 5G till 2021. Uh, it's tough. I would be willing to bet that the display calibration on the V50 will probably be better. The V40 has one of the best displays of its generation, And so I would imagine that they're probably not messing around with saturation and gamma like they are on the G8. The G8 gets a little funky auto. There are times I'm looking at that screen and I don't quite believe that that's what the color looks like, especially for shooting a lot of raw. So I would imagine that a V series phone would probably would handle that better. And I would also be willing to bet that the V series will likely have a little less noise reduction on the microphones. I know the V40 audio was a bit purer than the audio on the G8. So from a production standpoint, the V50 is probably the safer, the more reliable. But there's a lot that I like about the G. This year's G series, the G7 and the G8, phenomenal phones. So it's kind of a tough call. I, I don't know, win some, lose some. But if I'm paying for features, like I'm not really going to care about 5G, that makes the V50 a more difficult acquisition. It makes the G8 a much safer buy over the next year. IMO. Do do do. It's your boy Trogsy. Do you recommend the new iPad Gen or the Gen before this new one? Pricing is very unrealistic. I wonder, are we paying for labor or stats? Um, I am a bit less experienced on the iPad front. Um, I tend to stick with phone. I'm not the biggest fan of tablets in general. And because I have a lot less interaction with iOS, I'm a lot more limited on iOS. The thing that I would look towards on Apple right now, and why I think it might be the safer play to buy up, would be the changes that they're making with iPad OS being more forward facing, looking at the newer hardware that's being sold being the defining platform for what they're doing with a new flavor of this operating system and making it more of a laptop competitor. I've been hearing good things about people running iPad OS on the current or last gen of iPads, and I'm sure they've got plenty of horsepower to run that to run that solution well. But if I were really considering that as a long-term purchase where I was wanting to maximize what I could get out of a slate, I think I would feel safer buying up on that food chain rather than getting something last gen and then hoping it lasts me for as long as I want it to, especially for the premium prices that Apple charges for things. I that has to be taken with the enormous boulder of salt. And I am not as well versed, and I am not a huge fan of tablets. So you'll have to pardon me having somewhat of a limited opinion in that regard. Do 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 do. Let's see. Goran Petrovic, LG and Sony are cheap in battery size. Not LG anymore. LG's been doing much better. I would say since the V40 on, their phones have been a bit more competitive for battery life. What is on my G8? I can't memorize all of these stats. My brain is Swiss cheese. So again, this is sort of the medium-sized phone, and it lists battery as 3,500. Yeah, this is totally reasonable. That's exactly what like the medium-sized premium phone ballpark has been. Um, Climbing up into other devices, like the battery life on my G8 is way better than my OnePlus 7 Pro with all the eye candy turned on. I mean, again, that's not an oranges to oranges comparison there. So uh from Kenyon, this is a fun question. Who is your favorite tech YouTuber, like for example, MKBHD, Unbox Therapy, Mr. Mobile, etc.? I don't have one favorite tech YouTuber. I like finding new voices in this space, and I like watching my friends' videos. So we had Bored at Work in the live chat for a little bit. We had LFA. We had Easy Computer Solutions. I'm watching those people on the regular. And then also I have my Reddit. So reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles, where if Erica Griffin puts out a video, I'm gonna watch that video. If Flossie puts out a video, I'm gonna have it on in the background, but I will listen to that video. I don't feel like I'm missing too much by not watching a Flossie video, but I do like to hear what he has to say about things. Um, I don't know. It's maybe a slice of vanity, but I like all of the players and the hustlers that are a little closer to my tier because I feel like, not to take anything away from people with much bigger channels, but I like those people that I feel have they're more consistent with their personal preferences. Um, I really don't like it when someone falls into that trap of, well, this phone is from a less popular manufacturer, so I'm going to trash this gimmick. But you know what? Now that my favorite manufacturer has done the same gimmick, my mind has been changed and I kind of like it now. And I think we saw that a lot with things like notches. Still think notches look terrible. I really want them to go away. I will be so happy to see a Pixel 4 without a notch. I find them to be distracting and potentially deal breakers depending on what the rest of the phone can support. But we saw that dance happen a lot. Apple did a notch, and then Android fans were like, "Oh yeah, see, it's so dumb." And then the Pixel did a notch, and you had like Pixel fanboys like, "Well, I've gotten used to it now." Now, well, I mean, it's not a deal breaker now. Same thing with the OnePlus. The OnePlus 6 came out with a notch, and then you're like, "Oh, but I mean, like OnePlus is a great brand, though." So I mean, like you can get used to it. That kind of stuff drives me crazy. So I've stopped following channels that I feel play to the algorithm more than they are internally consistent with their criticisms. So someone who will always take an LG, a Motorola, a Sony, excuse me, any of these other like smaller brands. And of course, they'll say some nice things about them, like, "Oh yeah, this is kind of cool," or "This is all right." But you know what? For your money, you should just buy a Samsung. As soon as you start seeing that gameplay, then you're not really making informed tech commentary. You're just satisfying the popularity audience. Or if they do the drama dance. "I can't believe this company's making such a dumb decision. They're going to lose me as a customer. I'm sending back this product." And then the next time something comes out, like, "I'm so glad this multi-billion-dollar corporation through pure meritocracy won me back. Now I'm so happy to be back on Team Popular." I don't watch those channels. I have no stomach for the back and forth reality show style drama. And I think we all probably have come in contact or experienced that on a variety of different platforms. So not like I feel like I need to try and name people specifically, but watch what you like. That's cool. But I appreciate a consistency of conversation where if someone doesn't like something, it's just fine to say that they don't like it, but then they're not automatically flipping that when a company they do like does something objectionable. But I'm just kind of rambling. um what do we have here? There's a psycho eyeball man asking some questions about cameras. I can't find the first question there, but hmm. From Genosis, how's it going, Juan? It's going pretty well. This is pretty chill. G7s are cheap on Amazon, Raul, like $200. I mean, G7 is still a baller phone today. That thing is still a monster. I love it. Um, Kenyon Millardo, the Pixel 4 better have dual front firing speakers. In your opinion, do you think the Pixel 4 will have them, and do you care for the front firing speakers? I think, again, everything's a hierarchy. I think taking one feature out of context of the rest of the phone is the deal breaker. So again, because I have it right here in front of me and my SIM card is actually back in this phone because I was using it as a production device yesterday. We're talking about speakers. The worst solution is mono speaker on the back of the phone. That's terrible. I'm so glad that era is done. The next worst is mono speaker just farting out the bottom of the phone. You can kind of cup your hand around. It's a little bit more accessible than speaker on the back, but it's still lopsided and it's still awful. The next worst solution is mono bottom firing with some kind of lame earpiece speaker shooting out the front. And I think the G8 actually has one of the poorer solutions for that, with their earpiece being sort of a part of the display. The display is responsible for vibrating, and you get this very awkward, not true stereo separation. And it would be okay if the top of the phone were just a tweeter and the bottom of the phone were just a woofer. But when you rotate it, there's no way to disable stereo separation. So it tries to do left channel, right channel, and that doesn't sound right. That sounds wrong. So I think the best version of that right now is Samsung, but it's not stereo. It is still unbalanced. It's just the best version of unbalanced. So the only good solution is forehead and chin bezel, true stereo front facing speakers. Not one speaker pointing out to the side and one pointing forward, not a tiny little earpiece speaker and a much, much larger bottom speaker. Take the space to do both the same. So, I mean, even though the Razer phone can get kind of peaky, if you're listening to heavily compressed audio, it can get real twitchy. That's the best. You want to hear the audio looking at the screen, the thing that's pointing directly at your face, front facing, front firing, symmetrical stereo speakers. That's the gig. So again, I think you always have to kind of weigh the spectrum of pros and cons. It can't just be, well, I like what this one phone company's doing. This one phone company's doing here, and so this one feature is going to be the make or break for me. Because the G8 is not my favorite multimedia speaker solution, but it's the absolute best headphone solution. I mean, just head and shoulders against anything else with a cable. They were some of the first to support advanced audio codecs like aptX and LDAC. Bluetooth radio is pretty solid. I get reasonably the same kind of connectivity, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, as I do with any other premium phone. And the compromise of having a weird speaker in the screen and not as like an earpiece speaker at the top actually does come with a benefit for taking phone calls. So poorer for multimedia, a little bit better for taking phone calls. Like, again, that's a trade-off that you can make with some nuance and some pros and cons. So that kind of stuff means more to me than just, oh, I like stereo speakers, because I don't love Samsung's solution. Samsung has the best of, and they have the best of an okay solution. They don't have the best solution. They have the best of a compromised solution. LG kind of has one of the poorer versions of a dual speaker compromised solution, but I'll still take a poorer dual speaker over pure mono, you know? So you got to kind of grade. You've got to kind of preface and grade as you go. LFA. I'm still here. I'm just lurking. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I mean, LFA, if you want to jump in, I'll shoot you a link, man. This is Hangouts on Air. We're supposed to have a bunch of people. I'll extend that invite to. I mean, I'm not going to post the join link public, but if there are folks here who want to jump in and we can chat like live, I'll put my ears in and I'll turn my speakers off and we can chat for worlds. I know it's late for a lot of you folks here in the United States. It's 1 a.m. on the East Coast, so I'm not expecting Board at Work to still be on or still be up. But I mean, if he wants in, I'll put him in too. DCJ's like LFA in the shadows, La Sombra. One of my least favorite vampire clans. I feel like La Sombra are just weak ass wannabe Nosferatu. But La Bruja, good times. Gnosis. Actually, because we didn't even really talk a whole lot about uh, uh, we didn't actually really talk about the Pixel. This is Gnosis just arrived in the last 10 minutes. Not sure if you've had a bunch of Pixel 4 questions. You think Google listened to the tech enthusiasts from last year and will give us what we want? I kind of hope Google is not listening to tech enthusiasts. I just said that out loud, and now like 3 phones on my desk just lit up. So apologies if I just set off your Google Assistant. I kind of feel like we're not the right audience to be dictating the future of phone design. I really hope Google is looking at marketing and ad dollars that are speaking to consumers in other places than sort of the tech, um, the sort of tech enthusiast space. I hope that they are looking at I hope they're looking at other audiences that are going to supply them with better critical feedback than just, oh my gosh, Google and their dumb notch and the Pixel's too expensive. Murmur, murmur, murmur. Because I think we're too cranky and I think we're kind of lame. I wish we were less conservative, and I wish we were more futurists. I was in on my podcast, the SGGQA podcast, which is a tech news and tech politics show every Monday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time. No longer live streaming on YouTube. I was just talking about some of my experiences in talking to people about like UI. There was this like Twitter thread of people complaining about how gestures worked in Android Q. And I think all gestures are kind of terrible. Like, we've made phones so much taller and skinnier, and the hand dance. I mean, again, to hold up an Xperia as the shining example of how do you navigate with bottom mounted gestures or controls or buttons, something that's tall and skinny. And I really feel Apple missed an opportunity to do something beautiful and radical for all consumers. You've got 3D touch in the iPhone 10 and 10s, but you used it for dumb menus. You can peek and pop on your emails. No one does that. No one cares. No one is trying to memorize what app you can force press into to get a menu that, oh, it's a shortcut to a selfie. No one does that. What you could have done is you could have made the entire screen the home button. You could have saved so much grief for people that are having problems with a bottom swipe on a slippery, almost bezel-less gadget. And even in doing that, it was TechRant. TechRant was like, oh, well, I mean, if you make the entire screen a home button, that's going to make it difficult to do things like swipe. And you're like, you didn't listen. You force press. That's different than a long press, and that's different than a tap. Like, this isn't hard. But we can't even imagine that. We're so stuck in our ways as tech enthusiasts that we're not looking at the future. We're looking at, what do we do now? Don't disrupt what I do now. Don't take away the things that I like now. And then that's where we're going to stay. And anything that's different, we're going to pan for around 3 years, for 3 generations. And then when other consumers get on board, well, then as the tech enthusiasts, then we'll like it too. But that's exactly what happened with the Surface. People tripping over themselves to pan Microsoft, to pan Windows 8. This is terrible. This is awful. You're giving us the worst of a tablet and compromising the best of a laptop. And then by around Surface 3, Microsoft had given up on trying to court us. And I was in on a lot of those Lumia, Nokia, Windows Phone PR meetings. They were actively trying to get away from techies, like Coyote Ugly gnawing their arm off. And around generation 3, the Surface 3 is starting to filter into more of the consumer space. It's being taken more seriously by consumers. And that's when techies got on board. We weren't the futurists driving that market. Consumers drove that market. we caught up. Oh, Joshua Smith with a super chat. What will you miss most about Hangouts, and why is it the My Little Pony Easter egg? Also, if you love LG, join my LG Discord, link on our LGV40. Oh, Joshua Smith. Of course. I can't even remember, like, friendship is magic. I don't know my Little Pony. I can't help you out there. Well, you know what I am actually going to kind of miss is starting every Hangouts on air complaining about Hangouts on air. It was just such a fun, beautiful little tradition of gripery. Again, I love those things that, I get to lean into my cranky old manness. Get off my lawn, you stupid YouTube kids. Um, uh, every single show, there was some like disastrous catastrophe, and it's in those types of environments that many of us kind of thrive. It's what I love about doing TV news. A live local news broadcast is almost always like a noises off comedy of errors in it's just like the worst possible way. We did one for checking out your TV settings. It was right after the Game of Thrones. Everyone was freaking out about how dark the show was and how they couldn't see anything. And so we did a broadcast where we're going to show you, like, you can look at like buying a new TV. You can also go into your TV settings. You can change, the brightness and the saturation and blah, 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 blah. We had it all set up. It's on the set. And then the TV we were going to use for it, and this is about 2 minutes before we go live on one of the biggest markets in the world for a local TV broadcast. It's about 2 minutes before we go live, and the TV won't turn on. The TV we were going to demonstrate all of the new settings. We're ripping it off of the table and unplugging it, and unplugging. We had an Apple TV, ripping that out. We had in the control room, we had a Samsung TV. Popped it in there, plugged it in. It wasn't working. We finally get it powered on. The Apple TV's not really connecting. We've got the video on a flash drive. We shoved that in there. Thankfully, it read. And it was just pure dumb luck that I happened to know the menu on the remote control for a Samsung TV. Because it was totally different than it was a Sony TV that we had started our demo with. And that was 2 minutes before we went live. Oh, what do we have here? Hangouts on air. We joined by LFA Reviews.
Hey, can you hear me?
I hear you just fine, buddy boy.
All right, man. Just making sure. I wasn't sure if this headset was working correctly or not, because Hangouts,
Well, I mean, the obvious is we're not seeing you.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting that going right now. Okay. Okay, how's that? That's it. There he is. All right, there we go.
In all his glory.
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. Thank you for joining me on the very last Hangouts on Air live stream on YouTube.
Oh yeah, no worries, man. It's considered an honor at this point. I think this is my second one. I did one on Viper's channel for his last one. I was trying to join TK for his last one earlier, but dinner got in the way, so I ended up getting in here. So
well, it worked out. I'm glad to have you on and to have you chat.
I appreciate it, man.
We spent a little time firing up. Like, we did our headphone review chat.
Yeah.
On a Hangout on air. And I don't know, man. Was that ever a part of your, because you've been doing your Sunday show, right?
Yeah, I've been doing the Sunday morning stuff, so it's been fun, man. I'm gonna figure out. I mean, I guess I could do webcam because I don't have any guests on my show, but I am looking at Easy Computer Solutions did a good intro on StreamYard, so I'm going to be looking at that.
Yeah, I was really seriously looking at StreamYards, and there's another one too that it was more a partner. I have to look it up. It's like creator something. They did a lot of work with Patreon. But I kind of feel like that's still more of a, you just want to host a private show, one person talking to camera, and not a good multi-stream solution. So I'm a little stuck.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man, because I know you want to be able to do the podcast and stuff. So, yeah.
Well, and I liked these sort of, I mean, like I prattled on about at the beginning of all this. Like I really liked that idea of collaboration.
Yeah.
It was this wonderfully unique tool that no one else since has really offered. Just that one step, have it strike up a conversation and anyone can jump in and you can make it work. And
Yeah.
that's not something that we can do anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, it's very simple to use despite its many flaws. And we all wanted it to succeed. And I know a lot of us would have gladly paid the money that a lot of us are now going to be paying StreamYard.
Yeah.
If they would have made some improvements, gave us a Google Hangouts Pro or something, but what are you going to do, right?
Isn't it so funny that, like, how economy of scale seems to matter for these types of companies? Like, you can take a major game publisher like an EA, and they don't care unless they're like breaking down $1 billion in the first week a game comes out. But you have like a little Path of Exile that can keep a community rolling, like with just a couple thousand subscribers, but it's like, this like passionate community. And Google seems to be cut from the same cloth. Like, you would have this passionate community of content producers making better stuff and willing to pay you to make better stuff.
Yep.
Like, not enough people. Most people just use the webcam, so that's just it.
I tried using that one time for a test stream, and it seemed okay, but it seems like it's something that's really like for a quick and dirty live stream. But I don't even think you can schedule the webcam ones, so it's kind of like I don't know. I have to look into it a little bit more.
I think we'll still be so I have a private stream for Patreon going up on Friday. And according to my creator, my creator
The studio.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Words are hard. According to my creator studio, it is scheduled for Friday, so I think that still might work.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll be really curious to see how some of this other stuff plays out, because Hangouts seems to be just specifically gutting the multi-stream, the ability to have a bunch of people up at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's what it seems. And I know StreamYard is limited to 6, but I think that's okay though, because I mean it's cool that Hangouts let you have 8 or 10, but sometimes that many people kind of hurts the conversation because then only a few people can chat, and then other people kind of get left out of the conversation. So I think limiting it to like 5 or 6 people is probably really a good way to keep conversation going.
Yeah, I because anytime I think I've had more than 3 people in a video call in general, it gets pretty rough.
Yeah.
I mean, Board at Work is popping in like Skype and OBS, but that's still like that 2-piece solution is just never going to be as consistent as if we had just a good one-stop shop.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Uh-oh. Yeah. E has family visiting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hey man, if you want to jump in, because I know it's like what, 1 a.m.
I keep forgetting, man. We're on the West Coast, so we've got it early still. Well, early.
Right. But isn't it so funny too that like we all still seem to live in the same time?
Yeah.
Like it's like 11 o'clock at night here on the West Coast, and I'm still having conversations with folks on the East Coast.
Yeah.
You're like,
Dude, it's crazy, man.
how?
Like where's the DTO right now, right?
Right? DTNL. Oh man, because wasn't he saying it was like 5 a.m. for him or something like that?
Yeah. It's like, oh, good morning, guys. Oh, I love it. I love it. That's one of the things I love majorly about YouTube and the community and like Twitter and stuff, is that it's sort of 24 hours a day because we got people all over the world. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. That's like I usually wake up in the morning when I get up in the morning before work. I get so many comments in the middle of the night that I'm like, I keep forgetting the channel's open 24 hours a day. So it's kind of cool.
But it's also that like FOMO trip. Like I have this real hot and cold relationship with comments now, where it's like I've got to walk away. If
Oh yeah.
it's already a part-time job, if I let it, I'll never get actual work done if I'm sitting here and digging through like moderating or replying or trying to answer questions and stuff. And then you feel like you're abandoning part of your community, but at the same time, it's like I'm walking away from this conversation right now so that I can try and make you something that you'll enjoy watching tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
Oof.
what happens, man. I mean, we spend a lot of time on that, and I know I do. I spend way too much time because, but I encourage people to ask questions, so I feel bad not answering. So, but that's just me. It's just everybody can do things the way that they want to do them. But I also get, I think because I do that, I fostered really high engagement on a channel of my size.
Hmm.
So where I get hundreds of comments, on videos, and it's a little bit strange, but I mean it's cool. I like it, and but it does take up a lot of time. So I have to spend 30 minutes to an hour. Um, Not in the morning. In the morning, I might give it like 15, 20 minutes to do some really quick hits. And
Yeah.
then in the evening, I'll spend more time answering people's comments because I actually answer their comments. I don't give like copy and paste replies
Yeah.
at all. So I give them real, like people ask me like, oh, hey, do you prefer this over this? Or what's better about this and that? And I, try to give them an actual response. So I remember being the guy asking questions to channels that never responded.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I don't want to be that dude to these people because I know what that feels like. But that's just me. I know there's going to be a point my channel gets so big that I won't be able to answer everybody that way.
And I don't think it's gonna be too far off from you. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been really excited to see. I mean, the crew of people that I started following your channels, and you were sort of the tip of the spear for me, kind of digging into a lot of really exciting and smaller channels. The growth has been really exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Even for all of my complaints about what YouTube is doing for or doing to, I shouldn't say for, what YouTube is doing to newer
Yeah.
content creators and all the mess that I never had to put up with when I started my channel. It's been awesome seeing how you guys are getting around it, and then also playing to some of the strengths of the platform still, where I'm still just back and like complaining about stuff.
Oh no, no doubt, dude. And we see it, and I'm steering into the curve. That's basically how I'm rolling with it. I'm sort of just rolling with the algorithm punches. If I see where it's going, then I'm like, okay, this is what you like. So I'm going to kind of steer into it. But the beauty of it is, I like doing headphones and earbuds. Like I like doing it. So it works for me in that sense
Yeah.
because it wants me to niche down, right? It wants me to be a
Hmm.
specialist. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. Now, mind you, it can kind of hurt my creative side because I do want to do other stuff.
Yeah.
So, but even so, that's still my favorite thing. So I'm okay with it, for now.
Yeah, I've become a complete contrarian. Like, what can I do that will work against the YouTube algorithm?
I know a few guys that are doing the same thing. They're like,
I
you know
I
what? To hell with this.
I I really feel like it's been hilarious, but then also gratifying that like my channel's like limited growth numbers have never been better for me not trying to do
Yeah,
YouTube guru-y things. So I'm gonna ride that out for a little bit longer, and then I'll probably have to make a pivot at
yeah.
some point.
But your
And
channel's known for having the level of variety that you have within the niche anyway. So, like when I see your channel, I expect, the cell phone reviews and the camera comparisons and the gadget stuff and, the headphones and earbuds and stuff. So I don't know how the algorithm thinks about it, but I know at least as far as an audience, we know what to expect. So
that's been very gratifying. Is there are people who I think we probably have a pretty broad overlap too on our channels right now, especially with how you've been growing.
yeah,
Um,
it's been cool, man,
like
so far.
I know there are definitely some people that just like hanging out with me, but I would definitely say that the big platform shifts that Google has pushed on YouTube over the last couple years has hugely negatively impacted channels with variety.
Mm,
So where I used to find a lot of newer viewers and I was more search, recommended relevant, I'm definitely not anymore. And that absolutely started when I was starting when I started talking about politics more. And I kind of get it, but it's also something that I kind of feel like I need to contribute to that conversation, and I don't really care if YouTube is a part of that. If I'm going to have to go out and get my own viewers on other social media platforms anyway, that's a conversation I can't sit out. I need to be a part of that.
yeah. No, that's understandable, man. And it seems like the way that the platform is going is becoming very topic based. So
Yeah.
where I've noticed that it's becoming like, well, here's like if you go into like when I go into my home feed and it starts giving me all these suggested videos like, oh hey, considering what you watch, we'll think you like this, and it'll give me audio topic with a bunch of different
Hmm.
channels, and it'll give me headphone topic with a bunch of different channels, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, and I'm thinking that that's what it's doing to my channel when I'll have
Hmm.
a video that pops, and I'm like, where are all these new viewers coming from? Like, where's all these new subscribers coming from? I'm assuming that's what it's doing. Like, it's sort of like, okay, I think the algorithm has figured out like what I'm doing because I keep feeding it the same thing. And it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to put you here. So if I do anything outside of that, like when I did my Pixel 3a review, it was like, what are you doing, bro?
See, and that's one of those things. Like that's where I want to be the cranky old man on your behalf. Like I never had to mess with stuff like that.
Yeah.
I did I used to do a series of vlogs from front facing cameras back in my old studio where I had blue packing blankets up on the wall. It looked like an Al Qaeda training video. I just said Al Qaeda, so now this video is definitely going to be demonetized.
Crap.
Um, it was awful, and like it screwed up every camera because like I had sort of warmer lights on a blue packing blanket up on the wall, and every camera would wig out for the white balance. Like it
Oh,
just
yeah, I'm
screw
sure.
up every single one. I didn't know I was doing. I'm an audio guy. I was still learning my way around video, but those used to get really solid traffic, and they would never be about the cameras. It would always be just some random topic, like my favorite way to watch horror films, or my super secret recipe for making a bomb ass turkey melt. Like
Uh-huh.
had nothing to do with the technology, but you would put front facing camera vlog, and like those would traffic really well. And I've
Huh.
tried doing sort of reoccurring videos like that since, and nothing. Like
Yeah.
the only one that's done well for me since has been the Nokia 9, and it was more about keywording and SEO and Nokia 9 and 4K, and that's all the stuff that drew people to the video. It wasn't just like I could have just casual vlogs on this channel. They have to go somewhere else. They have to live somewhere else, or it's going to be a negative impact on like
Yeah.
channel metrics, and then that further devalues me for search.
Yeah, that's the saddest thing about the way that it's going now. I mean, more power to everybody that just says, screw it. I'm just going to do whatever I want. I love that. You know what I mean? It's not. I'm not going to be doing that personally, at least not right now.
Yeah.
But it's just, I have my strategy. I'm trying to grow to the point where I have an audience that's really here for me. Not saying the ones that aren't here aren't, but just really, really big to that point where I can slowly expand the content out and keep it that way and have my hardcore audience that comes back for me regardless of what I upload. Because if I upload something that's not really right now, that's not really audio based, it's just kind of like a lot of my regulars will come in, but it won't be like a huge thing. It won't really pop. It's not going to send
Yeah.
all those signals to the algorithm like, hey, this is a cool video. Let's push it to more people.
Right.
Yeah. So,
And and the thing that really bothers me about that is you make one video that doesn't pop, and then you have to earn back
yes.
your rep on the videos that you were doing well with before.
Yep.
And this is why we keep seeing everybody like, well, I'm just going to make videos almost exclusively about Samsung and Apple and OnePlus,
Yep.
and then I'll do drama videos about like Pixel and everybody that's less popular. And,
Yeah.
and like that's not actually that's not a healthy environment for
No, no.
for fostering discussion.
Yeah, you can foster a lot of toxicity that way. And it's one of those things that if you choose that strategy, you have to be willing to accept the negative repercussions that are going to come in the comment section, um, from the types of people that are attracted to that kind of content.
Hmm.
It's not for the faint of heart. I know a few channels that do that type of content, and you go in their comment section, and it can be a dumpster fire, and you have to be careful around that kind of thing. You have to be able to filter that stuff away from yourself. But it's just not for me. That's just not how I operate. But everybody has to do their own thing.
Yeah. I mean, we're right, but everyone has to go and do their own thing.
Yeah,
They can
yeah. I
listen
mean,
to
really.
us,
Yeah,
but
and we all have our own path to walk, man. That's all we can do, man.
Steve DeRoche. I miss hearing Juan talk about Blue Apron. I miss talking about Blue Apron because they were a great sponsor when we were on Pocket Now, because then we would get free Blue Apron.
They went the way of Amazon, right?
Blue
Or whatever.
Apron?
Yeah, whatever happened to them?
Well, no, I think they're still kicking. It's just
Oh.
there's a ton more competition now. So they're
Yeah.
all like there's Purple Carrot and a bunch of other meal delivery services.
Yeah, have you seen those
Um,
meal delivery robots they got running around?
no.
Oh,
Did
dude,
someone finally pull that off?
it's so weird. I don't think it's like I think they're testing them, but I've seen them in Berkeley and I've seen them in San Francisco, and they look like a small monster truck. And it's the funniest thing. And I'm like, what is that? And there's usually people kind of walking like, like 10, 15 feet behind them. And I'm
Right.
like, what is that? And they're like, oh, yeah, it's the food delivery. And I'm like, what? And it's like, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a minute. It's kind of cool.
I wanted so years ago on the Board at Work podcast, it was right when there was all that hubbub about Amazon testing drones. I just thought the killer app for a self-driving car would be a self-driving truck that's just nothing but lockers.
Yeah.
And so you punch in your order, I need a USB cable, and
Yeah.
Amazon, a driverless truck rolls right up to your front porch. You've got 5 minutes. You got a special key code. You run down. I'm in locker 13. Beep, boop, beep, boop. It opens it up. You take your USB cable. The truck drives off. I just thought
Yeah.
that would be amazing.
It's in
And
the
there's
works.
so many of these gig economy, like DoorDash style
Oh, yeah.
jobs. Like as soon as you make a fleet of vehicles with like little pizza warmer ovens
Yeah. They,
or
they have
hot plates.
They have that in Arizona, man, where it's an automated vehicle that's like I think it's Domino's, and it's an automated vehicle that has all the pizza warmers. And one of my buddies was telling me that basically it pulls up and you go out there, you enter the code like an Amazon locker, and you pull your pizza out. And
See,
I was like, what?
done,
So it's already in the
done,
works.
over,
And
game
and I
over.
know I know Amazon's working on one where basically if you order something, they're gonna have the locker like come to your house. But if let's say you're at your kid's soccer game, you can redirect it and it'll go to where you
Oh,
are.
that's so awesome.
Dude, I was just like, you've got to be kidding
And
me.
and again, if you're like, I'll be the person complaining on my podcast about like privacy and stuff, and still be like, but I want pizza.
Right? Oh my god. I couldn't believe when I was hearing this stuff, I was just like, wow. This
we
is what
we
this is where we are.
we live in the most boring dystopia, but the future is now.
Oh my god.
We got a
Yeah.
couple comments here. Kenyon Millardo, just for anyone in the live chat, what phone are you currently using right now? So shoot him a reply. Let him know what phone you're using. He's probably collecting data on you too.
Uh
Um, the tech leets. I have a lot of fun doing YouTube and watching streams, but when I start to think about views, algorithm likes, etc., it starts to feel like work. It definitely becomes a part of the job
yep.
of this. And the flip side of this, Chris Panton. Also, I mean, both the tech leads and Chris Panton should also be channels that you're following out there. I try not to focus on the algorithm though, but it's rough when you don't see good views from content you keep producing.
Yeah.
I think that's the most demoralizing part of this is like, there are a bunch of videos that I put out. Like I've worked really hard on this. I feel like there's something interesting to start a conversation here, not just tell people what to buy. And then you see like 3,000 views and it's been out for a couple weeks and you're like, but why? Like
Mhm.
if this is something that I've really poured sort of some of my soul into,
Yeah. That's
you
how
know.
it goes, man. We'll put something extra into it and then it's just like, "Meow," and it'll be something you're kind of like, okay, I'm not too excited about this, but let me put out this video, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, and you're like, what the, how, what sorcery is this? Like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man, but it's
And
how it works, man.
and it's always the most disappointing too when it's like I know that this video is going to do better just because I'm going to talk about something that's more of a trending topic, not
Yeah.
something that I'm personally super passionate about, but I still feel like I should contribute to that. Oh, and we got another super chat from Mr. BBI. Looking by way of New Zealand. Thanks so much for dropping in and kicking a super chat in on what is likely going to be one of the very last live streams ever on this YouTube channel. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, man.
Um, oh, people talking trash about New Zealand dollars. Someone just kick me a super chat. Just be nice. Just be cool. You don't have to make fun of someone who's like trying to support a YouTube channel that maybe they enjoy watching. Come on now.
The New Zealand bucks, man. That's like when my buddy Zach, when he comes in, sometimes he'll give me like 100 or 50 Canadian, and people are like, oh, those are just Canadian dollars. I'm like, Canadian dollars add up, buddy.
You know what? Exchange and Canadian dollars spend pretty well too.
It's
I'm
pretty
not
good.
going to talk trash about anyone that's going to try and help me on this channel.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, it's like I said, everybody takes their approaches differently to this stuff, and it sucks, man. Like I know I put a lot of heart into my Pixel 3a XL review because I
hmm
wanted to do it differently.
Yeah.
And what was cool is I got a lot of good feedback on it. Like Thunder E, he popped up in the comment section like one of the very first people. I was shocked.
Yeah.
So, but it was
Enabong's a good dude. And again,
yeah,
I've drawn a lot of inspiration for this sort of community support from
yeah,
how he has networked on his channel. I mean,
yeah,
again, just
totally.
he likes finding new voices, and that's way more exciting than just kind of sticking with the same old like crew of, well, I've got 3 million subscribers. That's the only person we're gonna listen to.
Yeah. No, no, it was cool, man. I met him and what was it like? It was September last year. There was a Qualcomm event for the new chip,
Mhm.
and we had a dinner with him and Michael Fisher, Andrew Edwards, and Danny was there also, and so was Kevin the Tech Ninja. So we all had a dinner together, and man, just I was sitting next to Michael Fisher and in front of Danny and E, and man, good lord, all these guys are such good guys, man. I was just so surprised because nobody knew who I was at the table. You know what I mean? But they all took me in and welcomed me, and it was so cool, man. Like that's the thing where I try to tell people that we're all just people. It doesn't matter what your channel size and all that stuff and subscriber counts and all this thing is. We're just humans. So
I it's very clear. It happens very quickly. Once you start showing up at like media events and trade shows, this notion of channels competing against each other fall apart pretty quick.
yeah,
I can count on one hand the number of content creators that I've run into that have had popular channels, but then also acted like they had to sort of look down on smaller channels or that, people were beneath them. And of those people that I've encountered, none of them are still in this space.
yeah, yeah,
Like once you make it past that point, while there are still definitely like fun debates and differences in personal opinion and fights and a lot of drama that happens between our various platforms. Like you still show up at the water cooler at a trade event and it's like, well, you're a work colleague. This is the closest we get to having work friends. You're a
yeah.
part of the club.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I didn't get invited to the Samsung event. Jason, he snuck me in, so he got me on the plus
That's
one.
how I got into my first one too, though.
So, but it was cool, man. And I got to meet a lot of the cooler, some of the other guys that I hadn't met before, and so it was interesting. It was interesting to be there. Interesting to get the first look at stuff. Get hands on. So that was cool, man. I haven't. I don't feel like I've earned my place to really get those invites yet, but it'll be cool when it happens. So
And the thing is, like, I don't think you ever do.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think at some point you're just brave enough to ask.
yeah,
And if it were me giving out free advice that no one asked for, I think a channel like yours is there is nothing holding you back from asking.
yeah. It's worth a shot. I send out a lot of emails and I still get zero response 99% of the time, which is okay. It's fine. So the ones that do respond are the ones that really are cool, the ones that have worked with me, especially
Mhm.
companies and stuff. So, they're cool. They got in early. So
Yeah.
they're gonna get that early subscriber discount when things go big.
But then, that's what's kind of critical, or holding on to the handful of PR people that have bounced around too.
Yeah.
So a couple of my key contacts started out at completely different companies, and a lot of them, sort of cut their teeth on smaller brands and then went to larger places. And
Nice.
maintaining a good relationship with them has been critical. And then the flip side of that is also just sort of getting a feel for the companies that, like, I don't know, that are sort of fair weather friends. The tech leads are asking if I'm going to be at the Note 10 event, and no, I have covered Samsung products and services for over a decade. They will only send me something if I'm going to do a pre-produced segment on TV and only say something nice about their products.
Mm. Sounds about
They
right.
will never send me anything if it's just for a straight up review. They are not interested in me talking about pros and cons.
Yeah.
So that I will not get invites from them anymore, and I'm not really pushing for it anymore. I kind of got off that train when I left Pocket Now.
Yeah.
My 2 years at Pocket Now was it took 2 years to rebuild the relationship Pocket Now had with Samsung. Pocket Now and Samsung did not get along when I first started there. And we had to jump through a lot of hoops and play real nice and source our phones from other locations. And then, really, the only thing that sort of got us talking to them again was there was some phone launch where we were able to source a phone that kind of fell off the back of a truck before the embargo lifted. And so we had a video out before anyone else, and that pissed off a whole bunch of people. And then Samsung PR started taking our emails seriously again. Then we got invited to a bunch of these events where we were playing nice again. And then we got a different PR rep. And then it was just like a year of kissing ass. And then Pocket Now was sort of back in. Going back to my own personal channel, I wrote to them to try and keep that relationship going. And it was like, oh, well, we'll send you something out there with a rep when you want to talk about it on TV.
Nice.
And you're like, okay, well, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
So we've never pitched anything else on Fox about Samsung.
Yeah.
We've not used them for anything for our services, for our coverage, for any of their services. And that sucks. I mean, I'd really like it to not be that, but that's sort of the game that they've kind of maneuvered me into.
Well, no, I don't think it's just you. I mean, I think, well, I think they do take a different approach with different creators. That's for sure. And I think from what I've heard from other people that it is very, I'm not going to say controlled, but it is very like they want a specific narrative.
I don't feel that they're actively trying to manipulate a lot of these YouTuber reviews. But I do feel that the current grouping of Samsung PR reps are very cliquish. And I just don't get along with their reps. Yeah. And so when I say something critical of Samsung, it's viewed as an attack.
Gotcha.
Because we're not friends.
Yeah,
when I say something super critical of LG, my LG rep's like, yeah, you nailed us on that one, man. So what are we going to do about the next review phone? Yeah. Like, there's a dialogue. Yeah. I went after LG hard after the G6 about their marketing and their support. And I got a phone call from the head of international PR, and we were on the phone for 2 hours talking about like what were my feelings about the brand and why did I say this in this review. And I was thinking like, man, he took this personal that I brought this kind of stuff up in a review on one of their phones. And like, I've never had a better relationship with a PR contact after that. I thought I was dead. I thought I was off the reservation.
Yeah.
But that built like a lifelong relationship. Like we've been friends since then.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And that's what we can only hope for, is at least to open a dialogue where we can talk.
So more than anything else, like the LG people that I talk to, I'm sure they're not happy when I say, LG software kind of sucks.
What are you going to do? I mean,
but they at least sort of acknowledge that I'm willing to point out the things I really like about their phone and the things that I don't like about their phone. And I'm not trying to tell people how to spend their money. More, I'm just trying to find who's a good fit for a certain product or solution. And they seem to understand that that's what I like to do. And they like being a part of that conversation. Samsung, the PR people that I don't get along with, don't see it that way. And I think that's the big thing. There are channels out there that can criticize Samsung. There are channels out there that can really give it to you straight. There are channels out there that are just going to suck up to Samsung at every opportunity they get. But the channels that do a good job of criticizing Samsung seem to have a better personal relationship with those folks, which I've just never been able to maintain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, man. And I'm just glad that at least LG is that type of company. There's a few out there that I've worked with where I've given a critical review, or basically at the end of the video, I haven't given a recommendation of like, no, I can't recommend this, and here's why. And then they've contacted me and said, hey, we saw what you said. We're going to take this into advisement, or do you have time to set up a call? We can kind of talk about the things you didn't like so you can kind of expand on it and stuff. And we've had those calls, and then their next product has improved. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. Like, I love that type of a conversation. That's, that's cool. I'm not saying that I should be the end all and tell these companies how to make their products better, but I like the fact that they actually took the time to listen and we're like, we like it,
I'm I'm not going to take credit for Me Audio coming out with a whole new series of professional in-ear monitors, but I'd like to think that I contributed to that conversation.
It's good though. I haven't had a chance to check out their stuff, but
Dude,
considering all the good I've
all right.
heard,
Let me I'm wrapping up a video on just the new platform. I'm not going to review it's 4 new in-ear monitors, single, dual, triple, quad driver. So
jeez.
I'm not going to go through all of those. But one of the things that we're going to do is I love my molded ear tips. They did an amazing job with these molds. And so we're going to go and get my wife's ears done now because she
Nice.
has these little pixie ears that no in-ears have ever fit her entire life.
Yeah.
And so when I'm down there, let me talk to them. But if we can't work something up to get you and them working together, then I will send you all of my once I'm done with the video,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
send you
no,
all of the current in-ears, and you'll just have to deal with the fact that you can't use the foam comply tips because my earwax will be all over them. You'll just have
no
to source
problem.
your own.
Yeah, no, I managed to keep some. I always keep some foam tips lying around for different things. So, because
I knew
sometimes,
you would. I'm not
yeah,
worried about that.
yeah, sometimes I get some product and like sometimes their silicone ear tips, they'll come in like they'll give us 3 sizes, but none of the 3 will fit me, and I'm like, what
Yeah.
is going on here? So that's usually where my foam ones come in. I have to keep a bunch of different sizes because the stem sizes vary so much.
Yeah. Well, that happened to me with the Ecos. It wasn't even the stem size. It was the really pretty aluminum shell was just that awkward depth, and it
Hmm.
was so smooth that like there was no traction. It would just like right out of my ear as soon as I got it in there. I
Oh
couldn't.
man,
You know.
yeah.
But yeah, I'll make sure. Like I think first of all, I just think you and the Me Audio guys would get along. So we'll give you all the behind the scenes on how we get reviews done and our relationships with PR on this live stream. A couple comments in here. The tech leads. Wow, thanks for the truth. I have no problems airing my dirty laundry, which is why I probably don't have the best PR relationships for
Hey,
a reviewer.
it happens,
Um,
man.
um, Ace Lucero, I'm hoping to get an invite to TDs in Albuquerque.
Hmm.
What's TDs? I'm from the 505. What is that? What is TDs? Because I would like to know what's going on in Albuquerque.
Oh, Ace said he got an invite to the flea market, so that's good. I'm always down for that trip.
The Albuquerque flea market was my jam when I was a little kid. You get all those off-brand superhero toys,
That's right.
um, like Teenage Mutant Samurai pandas or
Yeah.
stuff like that. Kenyon Millardo, do you and Jaime Rivera still talk? Oh, and then a couple other people asking me to ask Pocket now to tone down the Note 10 coverage. So unfortunately, we don't talk as much as I'd like to. I was keeping up with Jules really well because me and Jules worked together the closest. He was my producer for the Pocket Now Weekly. I didn't do a whole lot with Jaime unless it was at a trade show,
Mm.
and a major part of that is Jaime's work schedule is kind of ridiculous. I was really glad to hear that they had gotten him some extra assistance. But I still feel like Pocket Now as a channel would benefit greatly from sort of taking some of the coverage off of his plate because the dude does the daily and then also is still producing full reviews and comparisons and first looks and all of the other stuff that has to happen in on that channel. So,
Oh man,
I mean, that man is cut from very, very special stuff.
he has to delegate, man. Delegate more.
And it's tough because in this and to some of your criticisms, I think you're probably right. I think Pocket Now is probably leaning a little too heavy on some of the popular YouTube algorithm stuff, right?
Mhm.
We're in the summer doldrums. There isn't exciting gadget news happening right now because we're all recovering from the first half of the year and we're all getting ready for all the phones coming out in the second half of the year. But you can't produce a show like The Daily unless you are trending topic, algorithm relevant.
Yeah.
If Jaime does a bunch of shows on less popular stuff, it's not just, oh, he'll get a few less likes, he'll get a few less views. The YouTube algorithm will punish the Pocket Now channel for it. And
Mhm.
all of their videos will be less search relevant. All of their videos will be less recommended. So he's got to lean on that stuff. This
Yeah.
is what sucks about if you don't really follow your content creators and support them outside of just passive views, if you're not actively sharing, actively striking up conversations, putting these videos on services like Reddit, putting these videos in places where they're more discoverable, this is the content you get. You would then have to play the YouTube algorithm game to stay not just relevant, but so that your channel isn't hurt by covering less popular topics. And
Yeah.
this is the relationship you have to have with your viewers. If you don't have that, this is why all of our commentary is going to start echo chambering on just a handful of only the top trending YouTube searches. And then we all get frustrated. But then what do we do about it? We don't go and support that creator when they do talk about other things. We complain that these videos aren't performing as well, or, oh, but you said this about this other phone, and now I'm not going to watch your channel anymore. And you're like,
Yeah.
a passive view didn't really help me that much.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then momentum is real, man. And that's a tough thing, especially right now that they're gearing up for Samsung. A lot of channels are doing the same thing. We've been watching it for the past month leading up to their Unpacked event or whatnot. So, that's just how they're working it. And you have to stay relevant. You have to keep that momentum going. So when the event actually happens and they get their devices, they've already primed the algorithm
Mhm.
to push their videos. So I see where it's coming from, and I respect it, especially for a guy like or like a channel like Pocket Now, where it's a business. They got employees, they got bills to pay. So I respect it. But man, yeah, no, sometimes it can be rough when we see a lot of the same topics over and over and over in our feeds. So, but I mean, what are you going to do? The only good thing I can say is, even though it's slow on that side of the tech thing, at least on the headphone side, we got a lot of good stuff going on. So
Yeah. Oh man, like
it's not slow for us.
this has been the work-life balance that's been so hard. I mean, we are in a headphone and headset renaissance right now.
Hmm.
Um, like from the Bluetooth kit that I sent you to all
Oh
of
yeah,
these little like multi-driver in your earbuds. I just started shooting my final review on the Sennheiser 670s. I mean, like
nice.
we are flush right
Oh
now.
yeah. Oh, there's
It
good stuff.
it hasn't been this good for a while.
That's a nice thing too, and I can tell people because they'll ask me and they'll be like, oh yeah, what do you recommend? And I'm like, I'll send them to my top 5 video, and like, which one would you pick? I'm like, honestly, you really can't go wrong right now because the stuff that we've got right now, the under $100 market, like from like 70 to 100, is so good. There's at least
Yeah.
20 to 30 products that I can easily recommend to people because they're that good. So it's man, and not only that, I mean, Sony just brought out theirs. Unfortunately, I don't get review samples for Sony stuff, but they just got their new ones out. So I was pushing, I was heavily pushing GameSki and Thunder E's videos,
Yeah.
because we got to do what we got to do, and I was pushing their videos. I love that stuff, especially those guys, two of my favorites as well. And Klipsch, they just got brought out their first one. I really want to get my hands on those. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff coming down the pipeline, and we're in a good time right now, man.
Yeah, it's so funny. For one, I'm just excited to see companies taking like Bluetooth audio a bit more seriously. Like the improvements there have been pretty substantial. I still have my snobbery over cables,
Yeah,
but that's also what's been so interesting are the number of really good cabled solutions at a time where like every mobile manufacturer seems to be tripping over themselves to get rid of the headphone jack.
yeah,
I wonder how that's going to play out over this next year,
yeah,
where I wonder if any of that's going to slow down or if we'll just see a harder pivot towards more professional application. Like, hey,
yeah,
we trust that you'll be able to plug this into a mixer, to an audio interface or a recorder, and that's really where these IEMs are going to live.
yeah,
But every time I pick up an LG, it's that something legit special
Yeah.
that it sounds way better than
Yeah.
any other phone really has any business sounding.
Yeah, I'm shocked at how much better the DAC on the Galaxy S10 sounds over the DAC on the Google Pixel 3a. That's just
Yeah.
yeah. There's more power there. I was like, whoa, what the?
So I'm telling you, man, I mean, like, if I had one to spare and I could stomach the idea of parting with one of my precious LGs, I would send you one too.
Oh no, I'm still gonna grab an older LG for sure.
Oh,
Um,
do it. From
so
V20 on.
yeah,
V20, G7, V40.
yeah, they're going for
Um,
cheap, man.
so cheap. I
Yeah.
mean, like, if you pick up a V20, it is so much nicer a multimedia experience than any of these standalone music players, and it's better for video.
Yeah.
And you could kind of play some games on it because it's still a Qualcomm 820.
Yeah.
Um, from the 820 on, you'll have that quad DAC experience. What you hear in the difference between a Pixel and your Galaxy, it is almost that stark of a jump going from a Galaxy to an LG.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not
The the
surprised.
the numbers are it is almost that kind of parity.
Yeah, that's what
Like
I keep hearing.
Samsung is decidedly mid pack. They're good, but like for example, they only are really leaning on what Qualcomm has put into the audio processing in whatever chipset they're using. So for a Galaxy S7, they were garbage. From
Yeah.
the Galaxy S8, they were a little bit better. Galaxy S9, again, Qualcomm improved, so Samsung improved.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, out of all the phones that I've reviewed this year, sadly, one of the better audio performers was actually the Nokia 9 with that crappy little pass-through dongle.
Wow.
Bested the Galaxy S10.
Man, I'm saying, man.
Even the amp was louder through that crap dongle.
Jeez.
It was ridiculous. So again, it's like unless you actually sit there and kind of measure this stuff out, it would be sad for someone to walk away from like a Pixel 3a and go like, well, it's got a headphone jack, and you're like, just because it has it doesn't mean that it's the same.
No.
That
Yeah.
it's there's more than just the plug.
Yeah. It could have been better. I really do like the stepping on the Google on the Pixel. The stepping for volume. It's
Yes,
so much nicer. But
so much nicer.
yeah, I like having those additional because you can really kind of fine tune to the volume you want, and they're good for like some basic like IEMs. They sound, it sounds fine, but
Yeah, as long as you keep that resistance low, like
yeah,
they do okay.
yeah,
But even on like some of my some of my lower impedance earbuds, as soon as I plug in an LG, it's like, oh, all right, there's the rest of my audio.
yeah. That's what happened, man. It's something special, man. Especially right now, and with wired stuff, which tends to get ignored, which I've been ignoring on my channel, unfortunately, because I've got a whole line of that series that I started and I
Yep.
never kept going with it. Was the budget audio enthusiast series, and I'm like, the wired stuff is so good. Like the stuff that I've got sitting on my desk right now, it's like, oh, they're so good. The ZS10 Pro from KZ is so good.
So good.
Oh man.
And I haven't even had time to like catch up. I've got what is the I've got the new SimGots, and I don't like the casing on them, but
Right.
they went multi-driver after
Mhm.
they went single driver for their first. Those are really good.
Yeah.
I'm trying a couple different like super premium multi-core replacement cables, and I
Yeah.
don't know if it's actually making a difference or if it's just like just the placebo effect. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
try and play with a couple things like that. Ace Lucero got back to me. TD's is a strip club. I used to kick it on the one on Eubank.
Good to know.
So the only thing I used to rock on Eubank was there was a bowling alley out there. I don't know if you remember You Can Bowl, because it was at the corner of Eubank and Candelaria. And it took me way too long to figure out that You Can Bowl was Eubank and Candelaria. So so that's the only I can't join you strip club memories. I never went to a strip club in Albuquerque, unfortunately.
Oh man, I've never been out there, man, unfortunately, but I heard it's beautiful. I have friends who have family out there. They always tell me, they always give me good stories about the area. So
Best Mexican food on the planet.
yeah,
Truth.
I've heard a
I
lot
mean,
about it.
I mean, like, I know you probably have your haunts up in San Francisco. I'm not
Oh
saying
yeah, of course.
SF area has bad food, but you haven't lived until you fired up like some New Mexican roasted red chili or not even for the Mexican food. I mean, we put green chili on everything. You
Yeah,
want a grilled cheese sandwich? Do you want green chili in your grilled cheese? Of course you
exactly.
do.
Yeah,
You want a slice of pepperoni? Well, yeah, obviously you need green chili on it.
yeah. I just like how different. I like how the different regions have a different twist on the way that they either preparation or in the seasoning style, and I freaking
Totally.
love it. I love it. So yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm being a little more. Unfortunately, I haven't been feeling too good, so I've actually had
Mhm.
to switch up my diet majorly in the past week. So I'm on this no flavor sort of diet right now. But it's like but I loved it, man. But I've gotten more than my fair share. Put it that way.
I mean, I'm with you in trying to give my wife a little less husband to love.
Basically, yeah.
Being and also like knowing what your other day job too. Like we can be a little more sedentary than we
Yeah.
probably want.
Oh
But
yeah.
when it comes to no flavor, I mean, you can't even hook up like chili. Is it like and I don't want to make you get too personal
Oh no,
on
no, it's
my
okay.
life
It's
or
just
anything like
it's
that, but
sodium. It's mostly sodium.
oh,
So
dude.
so you have to be really
Okay,
careful.
I'm
There's
I'm I'm with you there.
there's
Because
ways around it, but
I'm absolutely with you there. I've had to cut out, and especially a lot of those like seasoning canisters that are basically just salt with like paprika in there or
yeah.
something like that. I absolutely with you there, and I have bad problems with skin and with like bloating and
Mhm.
psoriasis and arthritis and stuff like that. But I would wholeheartedly recommend replacing that with more garlic, with
Mhm.
more chili peppers, with black pepper. I mean, just anything else that gets some heat in there
Yeah.
too. And then throw a little acid on top of it, a little lemon juice, something like that makes
Mhm.
almost any dish so much better. And I don't miss salt because I used to just
Yeah.
be like, I would pour salt all over everything.
Yeah.
I had to walk that back too because I
Yeah.
was super hypertensive.
So it keeps me from it's been keeping me away from like basically staying away from fast food and like the one that I really the one that hurt the most is staying away from like Chinese food and
Oh, I
stuff like that.
know.
That's one of the one that hurts the most because they do a lot of soy sauce in their cooking. So it's like
Well, not just soy sauce, but I mean, like, because I don't think it's bad for you in the way that people think it was, but because I
yeah,
was trying to cut back on all of that umami and salt was like
oh yeah,
there's this one dumpling place that I just knew they were packing on the MSG.
oh yeah, oh
It
dude,
was so good.
oh my god, that's how you know,
Oh,
and that's what happened too because you halfway home you're like falling asleep while you're driving.
but it was so good.
Yeah,
Oh, so good. Oh, so here's a fun question. I can put you on the spot. Hold on, let me scroll back up here.
like that Ace, I live and die by the green chili.
Oh yeah. No, so es sincero, carne asada por vida. Carne adobada is my jam. My grandfather, what he actually we were down in Los Lunas and he actually had a clay oven, an outdoor clay oven.
Oh
And
nice.
so he would marinate pork and potatoes in New Mexican red chili for like 3 days. I'm just letting it like the red chili just like eat away at this pork. And then he would put it into this oven for 2 days. And you would just like this it was a little on the dry side, but it was this like rich red chili rub pork that would just like disintegrate in your mouth. It
Oh
was
yeah.
so good. Um, but yeah, sorry. To get back to some tech topics because the jokes about some foodie guy are legit.
Yeah.
I'll go down that rabbit hole for way too long.
Cooking with Juan.
Um, before I started a tech channel, I really wanted to do a restaurant review show, and it never really got off the ground. But Kenyon Millardo would like to know why do people like Beats? They're cheaply made and sound is okay. My Sony sound way better, but yet they want to come for me for wearing them.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What?
Well, it's like so I've heard them, and I can see the appeal for a lot of people as far as that particular sound signature that they have. So for me, they don't sound bad in a sense for certain types of music, but and they've gotten better. Believe that that third generation definitely improved over the previous ones, but I can see why certain people like them. They're not for me, but I do know why certain people do like them. And not only that, it's also a styling thing and a branding thing. And there's a lot of people who they care about how they look with headphones on. I don't care what headphones look like because I want them to sound good. So I get that so many times in my comments, like, "Oh yeah, they you made these sound great, but they look so ugly." I'm like, "Who cares? If I'm wearing them, I can't see them. I don't care what other people think."
Right.
But that's
and
what it
and
comes
for a lot of accents too, I'm trying to get away from headphones that like blast lights at people.
down.
Like, because I don't see the lights, but I hate it when I'm on an airplane. There's like a blue light flashing at me from someone else's headset. So I
Yeah,
don't want to be
like
that
these.
guy.
See, I got them. I got them right here.
You got your RGBs.
Well, that's these are Strix. So I mean, what are you gonna do?
Oh, yeah. Well, so when you wear those, you get an extra 5 frames per second in any game you play.
You know it.
There you go, son. So the thing I want to give Beats some credit. Um, After the Apple acquisition, before the Apple acquisition, I think I would have agreed that they were garbage headphones built almost exclusively on label with very little substance. Like, I forget which model, but like people would open them up and find that they had just glued weights
Yeah.
into the ear cups to make them feel more substantial, which is just garbage manufacturing.
I think they were the Solo One or the Solo
I
Two.
want to say there was the Solo 2s, but
Yeah.
someone will correct me on that. I can't remember. But that was a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Current Beats, you are satisfying two different very premium situations where they're owned by Apple. They've got proprietary Apple hardware to control the wireless signal, the W chip or whatever it's called now. Um, and they're now the only platform where Apple will entertain things like proper interaurals for earbuds. I'm very disappointed that Apple doesn't support advanced audio codecs, that AirPods are open earbuds. They're terrible for your hearing. And so if you're an iPhone user and you want all of the fun techie compatibility of AirPods, you really should be looking at some Beats. They're
Yeah.
way more expensive, but they will be better for you. The battery life is better. They won't burn out as fast as a pair of AirPods. You won't have to subsidize that replacement cost as quickly. You're paying the Apple tax,
Yeah.
but I think you end up with a better solution than first party Apple hardware.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. I caught a lot of flack when I did the Galaxy Buds versus Apple AirPods, and my
Mhm.
biggest gripe with the AirPods was the lack of seal.
Yeah,
And there was a lot of people who came at me for that. They were like, "Oh, they're not supposed to seal, and they're a different design, and you can get ear tips for them, and all this." I'm like, "Listen, bro,
no,
out of the box, that I shouldn't need to do that, and I don't care how good they sound. If well, for me, this is a personal thing. They fall out of my ears, so it's like this isn't going to work for me." But that was what a lot of people didn't like, and I said, "Look, I'm a fan of noise isolation, so if I'm going to listen to something, I want to be able to hear it. I don't want to have to turn it up to 100 for it to sound good so I can hear it over the ambient noise around me. That's not me." And
totally.
the beauty of it is like we've got a company, JLab, who
Mhm.
is doing audio pass through on all of their earbuds. They call it Be Aware. So if you want to turn it on, you've got that ability. And we're talking $70 earbuds that have this feature, and it works excellent. So I mean, it's not perfect, but it's still it gives you that ability. You know what I mean? You can hold conversations with people. I do it when I'm testing them out. I'll sit here and I'll be talking to my wife or watching TV while wearing them with the mics turned on. So, we have that option. So why not just seal them up and activate the microphones? I mean,
Yeah, as soon as you try and make the argument that they're better for situational awareness, then you've lost that argument.
yeah,
That I cringe so bad whenever you see someone get on an airplane with AirPods. Like, what you're doing, the damage you're doing to your ears to overcome airplane engines is ridiculous. And I'm very disappointed in Apple that for a company that that revolutionized consumer audio. That, from the iPod on, they've never offered a safer or a healthier hearing option in the box. It's always been some open driver or this earpod style design. So
Yeah.
if you need situational awareness, you buy the right product for situational awareness. You don't leave the ear canal unsealed so that you have to block out noise with extra volume, extra gain. I don't know. I really want to lay a significant amount of blame at the feet of Apple for the current trends that we see in hearing loss in kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not
I
surprised.
think I think they set the tone. Not that they're directly responsible for every kid that's listening to music too loud on their headphones, but they set the consumer trend of the crappy earbuds, what come in the box, but they're fashionable. They're white, so they stand out from all of our favorite old iPod commercials. And
Yeah.
then from there, you just get used to that's what audio sounds like, even if it's kind of garbage. So even if it sounds better, well, it's going to sound different, and then that's going to sound weird. And I think it sets up very unhealthy listening trends.
Yeah. I'm just glad I'm starting to see more people wearing over ears walking around San Francisco than AirPods. It almost seems like, the sheer amount of B&O and Sony
Yeah.
Sony XM3 and the
I
amount
can't
of those
tell
I've
you,
seen.
dude.
It's
So
crazy.
exciting. Yeah, absolutely. I live in an older neighborhood, and I'm seeing senior citizens walking around with XM3s. Not
Yeah.
a lot, but I mean, there's some savvy grandmas out there,
Mhm.
right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I that is one of the most exciting trends. And I caught a little flack, not like in a bad way, but people were making fun of me because my daughter I don't let her play with technology that much, but whenever we go out and I want to like have a video ready for her to watch or something, it's never just, oh, she kind of watches a video on my phone. I've got the child-sized Bluetooth headphones with active noise cancellation paired with a OnePlus 7 so that she can watch like a Jim Henson cartoon. Like my daughter is crazy teched out too.
Yeah.
um so she comes by it honest, but like it's like those kinds of things. Like I want to set her up for those good habits now, like
Yeah,
she
absolutely.
doesn't know what it's like to watch Sesame Street on crap earbuds, and she will never know what it's like to watch Sesame Street on crap earbuds. Not expensive, like, and none of these are super pricey, but I'm gonna make sure that she's not listening on crap.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I know that I do the same thing. I know if whenever possible, if I see one of my friends using something that I'm like, oh no, 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 let me. Next time I see you, I'm bringing you something because I'm gonna improve. I'm gonna improve what you've got here. This isn't cutting it. So I try to offer solutions for my AirPod friends, but they're like, nah, nah, nah. Well, the issue is the convenience as well. So it's tough to pull that away from them.
I get it, but
Yeah.
I've started to I think I've started to land a little traction with a few of my friends where it's like I had a couple, specifically two talent agent friends of mine who went in fast. Like as soon as AirPods were kind of becoming popular, like they bought in and
Mhm.
like they would never take them out of their ears. But both of them started having the right channel AirPod die, like super, super fast. Like there was like an hour of battery life, if that.
Jeez.
And I think that kind of soured it because they realized like true wireless, I think, is always going to have that compromise of being a product you need to cycle more aggressively.
Yeah.
You just can't put a giant battery into these things. So once that battery starts to degrade, the half life is going to be much, much shorter.
Yep.
But you can kind of score a couple other points too. It's like you're listening to these things all the time, they're in your ears all the time. You're in your late 30s, you probably need a hearing aid.
At
Like,
this
and
point,
I'm
most
not saying it's just because of the AirPods, but they're not helping.
no. Yeah, no, no doubt, man. That's one of those things, man. And we do have to be careful about that. But yeah, the more we use them, I mean, they're packing what, maybe 30 to 50 milliamp hour batteries inside of them. You know,
Yeah.
at most. So it's like, you're gonna cycle through them so many times. Like I know how much I do, and I have a selection of them, and I'm, charging them and recharging them, and it's just like I'm surprised I haven't had a set die on me yet of the true wireless earbuds. But I've had Bluetooth headphones die on me already. Batteries
Hmm.
go bad, and then that's it. It's no more. What are you going to do? You can still use them wired, but it's like, why? I have actual wired headphones. Why am I going to use wired Bluetooth dead headphones? It's
Yeah. Yeah. That and no.
right. It's why am I going to do that to myself? So, but yeah,
I think the ones that are still holding up, like I've got Nokia BH905s, and
yeah.
those are now getting to be around 5 or 6 years old, and they're still kicking. But the experience on listening to them, not as nice. They're just those smaller Bose style on ears. The noise reduction is still pretty good, but like you're using SBC as the audio codec. There's no low end. I mean, just like what I don't even know why I'm still keeping these around, but they're now kind of a museum piece for me in my headphone collection.
I know exactly what you mean, man. And I've got some of the. I think I still have my. They're in a box, but I've got my very first headphone review that I did a video on. I still have them, so I kept them in a box. I'm pretty sure they're dead, but it's just one of those things where I kind of kept them as a memento. So might as well, you know.
Yeah, I'm really glad though. It does seem that in this wealth of options that some of this messaging is starting to break through. Like even in this live chat, a bunch of people talking up Sennheiser.
Mhm.
And for all the people saying nice things about Sennheiser, Kenyon Millardo asking are Sennheisers worth it? And I would say absolutely, but none of this is ever going to be worth it, not worth it, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah.
It's what color do you want and what features do you need? And then there's going to be a proper solution for you.
Mhm.
And it took the Sony XM3s for us to realize a manufacturer could satisfy a big chunk of the market if they took Bluetooth seriously. Like
Well,
for
not only that,
real
but their app is
serious.
so good too to be able to customize the audio.
Yeah.
Like, so it's really good. People love. That's what people always tell me. Like, oh, I love the app. I like changing the different settings, the different sound settings and stuff. So that was a smart move on their part as far as that goes. But Sennheiser's, I agree with you. It's a different tool for every job, and for some people, the Sennheiser sound signature is just not right.
Yeah.
And for me, it's not right for everything, but it's right for a lot of things, and very clean. So, for certain instances, they're perfect. But for other things that I like to listen to, I have other options. Uh,
Mhm.
so it just depends on what I'm going to do.
Well, and I would really like a lot of consumers to instead of again, Sony XM3s cover a lot of ground. They cover a lot of bases really well, but I would still recommend having a couple audio solutions in your arsenal if you're a person who really enjoys listening to things. Like I hate working out with cans on. I'm just
Yeah,
never gonna do it.
no,
But I think even just a twofer strategy, like having some good sport earbuds and some nice comfy listening cans, dividing up the workload a little bit takes wear and tear off of your more premium solution. It keeps, your other solution running a little bit longer. You can look at like a company like Theo if you want to go wireless with some of their Bluetooth DACs. So
mm,
you can plug in some less expensive earbuds and still go wireless when you want to go wireless.
yeah,
Um, I think there's a wealth of opportunity right now to say like I don't think it's too far for a general average consumer to have these are the headphones that I really like to listen to movies on an airplane. These are the headphones that I really love to just like punch me in the skull with some bass rumble. And
mhm,
then these are the earbuds that I just love like listening to jazz.
right,
Like you could satisfy that very inexpensively
yeah,
and really enjoy that experience specifically rather than saying like, well, I've got to spend $400 on these Bluetooth cans and they're going to do everything for me.
yeah.
I don't think that's always the best strategy.
There's you're gonna have to make compromises there. But there's people that I know that only listen to one genre of music, and I'm like, I don't know why you would only want one color
But
in your
sure.
vision, but more power to you. But it's one of those things where I try to tell people, like, because they'll tell me, oh, what's the best under this, and I'm like, listen, man, I don't know what kind of music you listen to, but let me give you what I think is the best for me, and you can kind of make your decisions on that. But I don't know how you're going to like this. But you can only do so much. So that's kind of the difficult part. But what are you going to do? We can kind of make those recommendations, but I don't know what
Well,
they listen to.
and I anymore. And again, it's another reason why I love your channel. It's like a recommendation isn't, I think you should buy this if. It's more like the manufacturer is just living up to the manufacturing claims and the responsibilities that they had to their consumers. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like it's not like I think B&Os are better than Sony's or Bear Dynamic. Like I really liked those Lagoons, but I totally get why someone would prefer the XM3s.
Hmm.
It's more like it takes a little time and a little active listening to find what is the right solution for you. And that's the thing that's a bummer. Like I had this notion of I really wanted to have like a concierge tech service. Before I joined Pocket Now, I even looked into like what would it take to get a small business loan, but there's just no way to make it monetizable.
Hmm.
Where I wanted to have like basically a little mini Best Buy, but it wasn't like I was stocking shelves for things to buy there. It would be you come in and you can play with this gear
Hmm.
and really get like a sense of it. Kind of like what we all used to love going to like a Fry's or a Best Buy way back in the day.
Hmm.
But like it's all overhead, and then what would you charge for the service, or how would you incorporate that? You couldn't just build it into the cost of selling things, because then people will just go and shop on Amazon. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't work. But we desperately need something like that. I really want something like that.
Now, like what I've been doing is for people who ask me for a recommendation on something. If it's something that I have in my inventory, I'll loan it to them for a few days.
Totally.
And I'm like, here, try this out. Let me know what you think. Because they'll ask me to make a recommendation. And I'm like, give me a day and let me bring you a couple of options. Try these out, and you let me know what you think. And I'll try to give them something that's a little bit varied, like a couple
Hmm.
different options that vary. And then they'll come back and say, okay, I really like this one, for my day to day. And they live with them, so they see how they like them and stuff, and then they can kind of make a better choice, and they're super happy with them. Which is nice because they actually got a chance to try it out. Because that's the
Yeah,
main
they
thing they
actually
told me.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, they were like, I was looking at these on Amazon, but I have no idea. And I'm like, here, try these. And if once you're ready, buy them on Amazon now that you know what you're going to get. So, which is cool.
Yeah. The last time we my grandfather's funeral a couple weeks back was like the first time my parents and my brother and my sister, we were like all together, and not just for Christmas. And it was like they had all saved up all of their tech questions for that trip. And I mean, aside from the funeral, it was like the most fun I've had trying to help make tech recommendations in a while.
Yeah.
'Cause it wasn't like just a random email, or like I'm sure you get these too. You get a tweet like, "Should I get the B&Os or should I get the AKGs?" And you're like, "I can't answer that.
Yeah.
There's no way to answer that. I have no idea. I have no idea what your ears are into." But like my brother, my sister, and my mom, they all needed new phones. Oh, and my sister's husband all needed new phones, and my mom's not super into audio, but my brother and my sister both wanted new headphones, and they were here for sort of a 4-day weekend, and it was just the round robin. Here, mom, here's a OnePlus 6T. Here, sister, here's a Pixel 3a. Hey, Marcus, try these one more true wireless, and then I want you to try these creatives. And then I also want to put your ears in a pair of OnePlus bullets, all in the same sort of general price tier. And like that's that all 4 days, just like passing these things around. You're like, baby, off the earbuds. Here, mom, take a listen. All right, sister, here's a different type of case if you want like a more rugged bumper case. I mean, it was awesome. It was
Right.
great. I
Yeah.
haven't had that much fun in a while, but it was because like they each left knowing really well, like, oh, this is what I don't like. This is definitely what I do like. This is like the safest purchase I think I've ever made.
Yeah.
Like I want to make that into like a business. I can't figure out there's just no way to do it. I just don't
Yeah.
think
Yeah, it's really, yeah, it's tough, man. I think the only way to do it would be if it was like sort of like not a store or anything like that, but more of a one-on-one where somebody says, I'm looking to buy this so and so product, and then basically you'd show up with a few different options of
totally.
that type of a product, but it'd be like a personalized service, and then they would have to pay for that type of concierge or whatever. But I don't think it could be something like a brick and mortar type of thing. So
No,
yeah,
and the people who could afford that as a concierge service, they don't need it.
yeah, right. Well,
Right? I used to do that a lot when I was working in recording. It was sort of the side hustle was trying to help voice actors set up their own home recording studios.
mm,
And I still have a ridiculous mic locker, but it used to be 3 times bigger. And
yeah,
I was $100 an hour, but I would roll up to your house and try different sound treatments, and we'd have a couple different microphones to play with and a certain budget. We'd record on a couple different platforms, work you on what software, and then try and get a purchasing recommendation all set up for you.
yeah,
And even that was, I mean, for being paid pretty well to do stuff like that, it's still like I want to be able to do more things like this for people who also can't afford $100 an hour.
yeah.
And I don't know how to make that work.
Yeah, that's a tough thing. It's like it's that type of consultation that it's just yeah. Yeah, it's rough, man. Because I've seen people do it, but I've also seen people do it for free. Like where I've seen where creators will go to somebody's house and set up their lighting for them to get it looking right.
Mhm.
And now all the videos are upgraded, but they didn't pay them for it. They just kind of did it out of the kindness. So
Totally.
yeah,
And I mean, part of this is like a major reason why I'm trying to contribute to these conversations and YouTube videos and stuff is like I still want to try and deliver what I think is helpful commentary on this stuff. But I don't know what that looks like. The way that we could maybe take it just that one extra step, that one little bit more helpful, or I think it would be really cool.
yeah. No, I agree completely, man. I think Aditya said it too. Perhaps a tier level of tech advice. A tier,
Yeah.
tier for a phone call, tier for a video call, tier for a local visit.
Well, you can join me on my Patreon.
That's it.
At
Oh,
the $2,000 tier, I'll fly out to anywhere in the continental United States.
that's right. The ticket's on you, though. You got to fly me out.
Totally. After you've already
Yeah,
joined this tier.
that's right. We have standards here, sir.
Absolutely. And I'll even wear my white gloves. It'll be
Oh, man.
tremendous.
Oh,
Harumph.
man. Oh, that'd be pretty good. That's some good stuff, man.
It's so funny. People talking about, someone asking what laptop I use. Right now I've got an old beat up Razer laptop. I also have a little Huawei. I was probably supposed to send that back, but then all of the weird political drama happened with Huawei. But I'm kind of hoping that like the next travel computing solution I use will just be my phone.
Yeah.
Like I'd really like to not have to keep cycling laptops. Instead, it's just whenever I've got a new phone, I could just plug that into a laptop dock and just
Mhm.
work right off of that.
Yeah, I think with Dex, you could do stuff like that. I know a couple of guys that run their whole businesses off of Dex.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean it's totally doable, and I think we're headed in the right direction there. I don't actually own a laptop. I have one for work.
Hmm.
Not a fan whatsoever of it, but
What kind of laptop is it?
it's a Lenovo Yoga 11 or something like that. It literally
Oh,
has it has literally 50 minutes of battery, like 50. I'm like
yeah, Lenovo went through that phase. I think they've kind of walked out of it a bit, but I used to do a lot of Lenovo product coverage, and excuse me, sorry. I still really like their ThinkPads,
oh,
but there's this like time period of a couple years back to the present where it was like we don't want to make a compromise in the form factor of the device because we think people will be more concerned about thinness and lightness and portability and the flexibility of their hinges So instead, we're going to compromise on battery life. And I don't think it was the right play,
No,
especially as their laptops age.
and it's low powered. It's a small, it's a small laptop and very low powered. I mean, it's like I can barely, run more than 2 windows on Google Chrome, and like, it's very low powered. But for it to have such horrible battery life in the battery saver setting, it's just like,
So it's already like not a screamer to begin with, and I
no,
have to throttle it down, and
yeah,
it still doesn't last more than an hour.
no. And then I'm accustomed to the hot rod PC that I have at home, so I'm just like, come on, man. It's just, so yeah, it kills me. Like I had to use it all day today for the particular work that we're doing right now. We have a special project that we're working on, so I had to use my laptop all day, and it was just like I kept having to plug it in over
Yeah.
and over, and I'm like, this thing is killing me. So yeah, I'm like, I was thinking about like I need a solution so I can have a power bank that I can connect to this. So I'm like, because it's ridiculous.
Oh, I don't even have it up here. So I just got it's from Omar's, and a little boutique accessory manufacturer selling on an Amazon store, but it's a 96 watt hour battery with an AC plug. So it's
Oh,
like just at the limit of what you can fly with. Cause
yeah.
I got one of those monster, just huge AC adapter. You can run appliances off of it, but
Mm-hmm.
you can't fly with it.
That part.
Um, so I really haven't used it as much as I was hoping to. I've used it on a couple location shoots where, like, again, we can run a video village for a couple hours off of this battery. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But these new I want to say it's somewhere around like a 26 to 28,000 milliamp hour, depending on voltages and amperage, is just at the limit that you can fly with, and is kind of huge for keeping my busted razor running away from a socket.
Yeah. It'll keep your stuff going, man. I know for me, that thing was just irritating me today. I'm like, it's just too much, man.
Again, this is again, it's why I really want to move over to a phone.
Yeah.
Like the phone apps have gotten good enough that if I'm trying to work in the field, I'm probably gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, when I did my long term wrap up on the Huawei, which was using one of those low power quad core Intel chipsets, it's shocking how much more powerful your phone really is.
Oh yeah. Oh God, it's not even
It's
funny, man.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and even then, like, but today the stuff we're doing is so rudimentary. The equipment that I'm doing, so I'm having to do firmware updates on modems, and the I have to run a USB to serial to DB9 to port into this thing.
Oh, wow.
And the firmware updates take something like 15 minutes, and then but here's the best part: most of the time it doesn't work, so you have to keep doing it over and over and over and over until it finally takes. And every time, here's the better part: every time that you have to restart the process, you have to change the port where the USB is plugged into on the laptop. You have to change to a different port.
Oh.
I'm telling one. I mean, I was so frustrated by lunch that I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do the rest of the day. I'm just so. It was so ridiculous, dude.
That's insane.
It's old stuff where the hardware that we're working on is circa 2009, 2010, and they haven't updated it yet.
Wow.
So we're forcing this old technology to be compliant in 2019. Yeah.
Mm, that's never
So
good.
yeah.
So that sounds a little like I did some work with a contractor that supported Apple and HP products for Department of Energy. And so for what you're discussing, it sounds a lot like doing a government contract
It is.
where I like okay, so I was a part of this order procurement team where they would have to keep a catalog at Los Alamos National Labs.
Ah, okay.
So they had like their book of things that they could P card and put in purchase orders for requisition. That book lived on a Unix system that probably hadn't been updated since the early 80s. So it was you would log into the LANL system, and it was just a white page of these black fields to enter in information, and you would have to update the products that they could purchase, and you would be allowed to requisition, like, someone wants to get this type of Xserve server and RAID array. These are all the specs for it. These are the pricings for it, and we would input that information into this like Unix screen. It was so old that as you were filling in the fields, if you spaced or tabbed past like the line ending, it would crash that requisite. I mean, like you couldn't leave the field that you were entering text into. It was so fragile and it was so old.
Jeez.
Because it was written by engineers that were like, yeah, well, you would never, space past this. You just don't do that and it won't break.
Why would you?
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. It's great.
Oh my God.
So the company I worked for, because again, this wasn't at Los Alamos, it was through a contractor.
Right.
Their order fulfillment system was built on an HP 3000, which hadn't been updated since the early 90s. So the Unix system wouldn't talk to the HP 3000. There's no way to make those two computers talk to each other.
Right.
So I got hired to literally be the meat bag that would take pieces of paper from our sales team, manually type them up into the Unix system, wait for a reply from Los Alamos, take that reply, and turn my chair to another computer at my desk where I would then re-upload that information into an HP 3000, which would then print a ticket down into our warehouse. So they would put a computer in a box and drive it up to Los Alamos National Labs in a truck.
You're the translate bot.
I thankfully didn't work that job for very long, but I got to play with some cool toys. It was just like, it was cheaper to hire me at a really nice wage for Albuquerque, New Mexico, just to move text from one computer to another.
That's crazy, man. I'm not surprised though, because all that stuff, they had a lot of proprietary, only works on this, and this only works on this, and it's just,
yeah. And it's crazy because this stuff cycles so fast that governments and cities, municipalities, they can't keep up.
No way. And this one, the stuff I'm talking about should have been updated years ago, and it's still there.
Yeah.
So, but they've got me. I'm doing the best I can to hold it together with bubble gum and duct tape. So,
because man, I mean, like whenever that stuff does finally cycle, it is traumatic.
Oh yeah.
Like, people freak out.
Yeah, we're talking equipment that has first gen resistive touchscreens to what we currently offer, which is the equivalent of what you're getting on a like LG or Galaxy phone. Yeah. So and that's just on the interface. I mean, the user interfaces itself is so much more intuitive now. UI from 2010. Ugh.
And I love going back though. I mean, like we did Erica Griffin tried to do like a challenge channel, and we only ever did pull off the old phone challenge. But like I was going back to Windows Mobile, like, man, I do kind of miss having Windows 98 in my pocket sometimes. It's like a full computer. It's terrible to use, but you could do so much with it.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing, man. But the funny thing is the hardware on those older machines is so much more robust than the newer stuff. It's not even funny. But the UI and the firmwares and stuff that can't be updated anymore because nobody's writing code. And it's just that's the thing that sucks, man. When I try to, I'll try to fix things and I can't because I'm literally hampered by the fact that it's almost 10 years old.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's going to be a thing that I think is going to be a challenge again, where when I grew up, I had a keyboard under my fingers when I was 4 years old. To play games on the family computer, I had to learn to navigate DOS.
Uh-huh.
And when something broke, and I apologize if you've ever listened to my podcast, you've heard me tell this story before. But when something broke, I mean, like my dad just would rip open the case and we'd resolder stuff. I mean, like there was no fear of the magic box, and we had full access to everything. And it was kind of expected that if you were a techie, that's what you did.
Mhm.
And that translated into everything. I mean, like unless something catastrophic happened to the family car, we fixed it. I ripped the engine out of an '87 Camry just so that we could replace idler pulleys and repair this busted 4-cylinder engine because we couldn't afford to take it to a shop.
Yeah.
We just lost a weekend under the family car, and increasingly, it doesn't really seem like that's going to be the kind of stuff I get to share with my daughter. Like everything's going to be glued shut and it's glass on glass with a metal strip. And like, I don't know, I want to find ways to like get her into this stuff too, but it probably won't be hardware, which is a
Yeah.
bummer for me.
Yeah. The only thing, I mean, you can do like custom PC building, but even that's like Legos at this point for the most part.
Oh,
I mean,
totally.
there's still some troubleshooting involved, but it's not like it was back in the day. So, like the new PC I just put together this weekend was like I spent I spent easily more time managing the cables on it than I did in
Oh
actually
yeah.
putting it
Yeah.
together.
Just making it pretty. Totally.
So
Totally.
it's like, yeah, I mean, it's easier, but at least I don't know. I think it'll help short of you going out and buying an old car. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Which at the same time, like I want her on a self-driving electric car. Like when
yeah,
she's old enough to drive, we better damn well have self-driving cars.
hopefully, come on, quantum computing, right?
Right? It's like you've got 13 years. Make it happen.
Jeez, man, I don't blame
What
you.
what PC did you put together? I didn't know you
Uh,
were making a new system.
so basically, I wanted a backup live streaming system. So right now I'm on my main editing rig. I wanted a backup streaming system so that because I'm in the living room, so this way I don't have to kick out my family when they want to watch TV and like if I feel like live streaming or something. So I built a second rig, and what was really cool is there's another creator who was updating to Ryzen 3.
Oh, cool.
So he had a B350 board and a 2600X that he was just like, "Hey, dude, I'll just give it to you." And I was like, "Are you serious?" So he
Dude.
mailed it over to me, and I had a 20, I had a GTX 1050 Ti just lying around. So I put that on there. I already had a power supply lying around. I already had SSDs lying around, fans lying around. So I just needed to buy a case and some memory, and then that was it. So slapped it all together, and it's running really well. I'm just not accustomed to running an air cooler. I'm accustomed to the water cooling.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
I keep freaking out because I keep seeing it running at like 50 plus Celsius. I'm like, what's happening here? So yeah,
I mean, you could play around with a couple other air coolers that are. I mean, they'll kick on like jet turbines, but
yeah,
they'll cool too.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's got
get
the
a Wraith in there.
yeah, it's got the he sent me the Wraith Prism that was
Oh, you already have one in there.
yeah
Okay.
that was sent with his Ryzen 3. I just haven't figured out how to adjust those. I think I have to do it in BIOS, but yeah, I have to figure that out just to kind of mess those fan curves.
I would say, and offline, if you want to spend some time, we can also talk about undervolting it too, because if it's like a streaming rig, then you probably don't need full horsepower.
No,
Like a
not at all. Not at all. Because I'm not even really going to game on it or anything. It's just going to be straight up for like a situation like this where I just want to jump in a live stream. I'll just have that as a backup, and it'll just run for that at all. So, but yeah, like the one I'm on right now is liquid cooled. So,
yeah.
and it's a 7700K that I've got overclocked. Well, I downed it. I had it at 5 gigahertz, and I knocked it down to 4.8. But it never even like at idle, even on
Hmm.
the hottest days, it never touches 40 Celsius. And
That's cool.
yeah, at full tilt, it'll get maybe 50 to 55, but beyond it rarely will see 60 Celsius. So
That's exactly what I did for my Threadripper build, and
yeah,
I still need to mess with some of these motherboard issues that I'm still trying to troubleshoot. But I went with a Corsair all-in-one closed loop cooler,
yeah,
but I'm purposely running this box to try and keep it consistent and cool, not Like it's a Threadripper. It's never going to be the speediest system anyway.
No,
It's just
no,
tons and tons of cores so that I can do some ridiculous multitasking.
yeah,
But yeah, it's the same. Like I don't want to ever see it over 55.
yeah, yeah. That's what surprised me when I was running it at the full 5. At full tilt, when I'd be like rendering, video files and stuff, then it would touch like 65 Celsius. But
Mhm.
now that I knocked it down to 4.8, it doesn't go past 60. And I'm thinking about dialing it back even further because I was only doing that for bragging rights. So just because I could do it, that's why I did it. But now it's like I think I'm just gonna drop it back down and put it back to normal because it's the difference in rendering times. It's now Filmora is actually they're taking advantage of my 1070 Ti now.
I was
And
gonna say
yeah,
the same thing for me, where GPU compute is
yeah,
making a bigger difference there. It's just what I wanted to build a Threadripper box for, and it works better than I thought it would, was being able to keep working while I've got a video rendering.
exactly. Yeah.
Whereas on my old, I mean, I was like several generations out on my old Intel system. I had a 6 core. What was it? Was an 1150 V3. It was that weird socket that they were going to try and make as like a crossover between like sort of server style and desktop. It was HEDT,
Mhm.
but they killed it after like 2011 V3, not 1150.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
I can't remember what it was. Was it the 59, 58? I had a 5800,
Hmm.
5800K. And I had every intention of like, I'm going to stick with this for a while and I'm going to upgrade this. And then there was like one other generation's 6800 series came out and then they killed the socket. And you're like, well, that doesn't help me.
Right.
Um, but it was if I like moved the mouse during a 4K render on that box, it would bork, and I'd
Oh,
have to like start from scratch all over again. And
yeah.
here it's like I've got Word up. I'm, chatting with people on Twitter. I've got Reddit. I'm kind of paging through like a ridiculous like number of tabs in Firefox, which is just eating up on my RAM. But my GPU is just like pegged for rendering, and I still have full access to the rest of the system. All
Yeah.
of the fans are kicking on. It's not quiet, but I can still kind of keep up with stuff. I don't have to like push render, walk away for 3 hours, hope the computer doesn't crash.
Oh man, yeah, that was the
And
worst,
come
man.
back.
Yeah, I'm so glad that they finally updated because before it would run like 98% on CPU. And once they upgraded from Filmora to Filmora 9, now it leverages like 70 GPU, 30 CPU. And now
That's
I can use Google Chrome. I can watch videos while I'm waiting. I can do different things. So it's pretty cool. It's actually really helpful.
so. Is that what you've been editing video on? Is Filmora?
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually learning. I'm in the process of learning DaVinci Resolve.
Me too. I just fired that up. Yeah.
So I'm in the process of learning that, but I'm still using Filmora because I'm already familiar with it. So just for efficiency, I still use it to make my videos while I learn.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Same thing. I'm coming from Vegas.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, I loved Sony. Actually, I liked it back when it was Sonic Foundry, when it was like Acid and SoundForge from way back in the day. And then I stuck with it for Sony software, and then I stuck with it still when they got bought out by Magix. And
Oh,
it's
no.
still good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still doing the gig, but I kind of feel like get moving into the future.
I
I'm
still don't like
some
it.
it's just like I'm somewhat like I can speak Adobe, but I also feel like I should be fluent in a few other languages here. So I'm gonna pick up DaVinci, and then a buddy of mine is he actually works in post production. He's going back to Avid. I mean,
Oh
like
wow.
I I I don't know that I need to be fluent in Avid, but I should at least be able to speak a little Avid just in case.
Well, looks like we're down to the last 10 minutes, man. Everybody's letting us know in chat.
I know. I see. Okay, so what's the? Oh, first of all, Paco Street, Paco Saint. I don't know what the ST is. Paco ST. Thank you so much for the super chat and supporting what is likely the uh, last real live stream on this YouTube channel. What are we thinking is going to happen? I'm game to stick out these last 9 minutes here. They're not just going to shut us off, right?
I don't know.
They wouldn't do that.
I wonder. I wonder if it'll cut the feed.
What do you folks think in the chat? Do you think YouTube's just going to pull the plug on us? Because from what I saw, the the cutoff for Hangouts on Air was West Coast time, so it was midnight. It was supposed to be midnight Pacific time was the last thing. So I'm like I'm giddy with anticipation. Is I didn't even think I was gonna be talking this long. So I also thank you so much
Oh yeah, of course,
for
man.
joining me on this. I have someone else to like yell at. It's just not me talking into. I mean, I love to hear the sound of my own voice. I
No,
can keep talking about
we don't want you
leave me.
blowing your voice out, man.
I've got a bad podcast week. Not, I mean, bad isn't good. I'm on 5 shows next week.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of talking.
Oh man.
I'm super excited. It's all gonna be good stuff, but yeah, it's gonna be a lot of talking.
Get your tea ready, man. Get your tea ready.
I'm gonna be like tea and honey and lozenges and every trick that I've got. So
Oh man.
we'll have to see. Let's see. Aditya Anil, they're gonna pull the plug. They're gonna cut you off mid sentence. DCJ Reviews is also using DaVinci. So far, I mean, I'm only a couple days into using it. It seems pretty clean. I think I'm gonna like it.
Yeah, the first thing, I haven't learned how to cut and like do anything like that yet. The only thing I did was I imported a project and I did some work with the color grading, and I was incredibly shocked by how good it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty. It's also because I switched cameras, so I don't want to switch 2 platforms at the same time. So I just switched from the Nikon over to the Canon. So I'm learning the Canon, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn the Canon and I'm gonna learn DaVinci. I'm like, that's a bit much. So let me learn one, and then I'll learn the other one. So
Well, that's what's cool about DaVinci, and already what I'm liking is you can tell that they started as like post-production and color grading plugins. And that's, I mean, front and center. Way better than anything I can do in Vegas.
yeah,
The speed of which I can actually cut, splice, join, merge, clip, pan, even some of the other things too. Like I don't do it a lot, but some of those tools for creating like a mat or the lot of like convolution tools that you can kind of like cut things out, pixelating things really easily and tracking it. The last update for Vegas gave you really good tools, so you wouldn't have to go into something like After Effects, but you could just like lock, scan a scene, find one thing that's moving, and then sort of move an effect along a keyframed set that you didn't have to manually keyframe.
oh, yeah.
That kind of stuff is going to take me a while to catch back up on with DaVinci. But the same thing you're saying, like as soon as I was able to like go click, click, click. Oh yeah, that's what the color for this should look like.
I was shocked. I was shocked,
So
man.
good.
Yeah, so I was really surprised because in Filmora it's very limited. Like you can use it and it does work. I've been using it, but the power that and how much better, how much more natural I looked, I was just like, wow. The only downside I've seen so far is when I rendered that out, it it only utilized like my graphics card like 9%. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
come on. So that was the only thing I was kind of like, oh man, all right.
Yeah. Again, I mean, some of these things like depending on how far I take, because I don't think I'll completely walk away from Vegas. The speed at which I can cut in Vegas, just because I'm so familiar with it, is going to take a while for me to overcome. But it's making a solid argument for get my timeline set and then import into DaVinci to make it pretty.
Uh-huh.
So if I need to, if I want to, like this is shaping up to be a tool that it'll be worth my time to give it that second pass, and that it'll save me time in Vegas because the Vegas color correction and tools they're not bad, but they're not great.
Yeah.
I'd completely cut that out of my Vegas workflow and then just feed through DaVinci to finish.
Yeah.
Could be a good way to do this. Steve DeRoche, I'm actually trying to learn DaVinci Resolve. That's how I cut your intro, but that was my first try doing some simple editing. I have to say a major thank you to Steve. When I have my countdown timer on the podcast, he came up with that and set it all up for me. I'm very appreciative because I used to just go start podcast and start talking. And it's always super awkward not to have some kind of intro.
Yeah. I need to find that review again from that intro.
Right? So that was
Razor phone,
the
wasn't it?
Razor 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I was making fun of other YouTubers, like intentionally missing the point of what that phone could do.
Yeah.
Oh, that phone is so good. Genosis, or Genosis, why are you quitting live streams on the channel? Not interested in continuing them with the options out there or something else? So I have obviously had a lot of grievances to air about how YouTube does business with content creators. And it's getting to be a bit much for me to keep complaining about things and then still put everything up on YouTube and not change my behavior. And so I didn't take it lightly because the podcast was doing pretty well here on YouTube. And obviously I very much appreciate the community support. But I also kind of felt like I needed to live the change I wanted to see in the world. And obviously Twitch has its issues too. It is not a perfect platform, but in terms of live streaming and having an interactive conversation, it seemed to fit my needs there. And it's my goal by the end of 2021 to have found some other way of monetizing and distributing where I could maybe consider walking away from YouTube as the primary distribution source for produced videos too. So it's something I'm going to be working with my patrons over on Patreon, is a way to see if we can make that happen.
Yeah.
I don't think it's enough to complain and then just keep doing things the way that we've always done them. If I'm going to complain, I also want to be a part of finding a solution. So that's just kind of where I'm trying to contribute, not just be cranky at you all the time.
Makes sense. Yeah. In case they cut us off, man, it was a good conversation. I just want to make sure we get that out in case they just hard cut us.
I appreciate it. I just like all the time. I was like, oh, getting down to 2 minutes.
Yeah. I totally agree, though, man. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, and it makes total sense. So hopefully we can keep building the community support to make that happen, man.
And I mean, like, obviously I've got the subreddit glowing rectangles, but it's more than just that. We have to find those opportunities for active support. So not just like a channel like mine, anyone, you find anyone on YouTube doing something kind of interesting, active participation is so critical right now.
Yeah.
So however you can help support your local content creator, be a part of that solution for them. Don't think that just like the passive view that you gave them is really going to sustain. Oh, Gnosis and kicking over a super chat. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Best of luck, bud. Well, we're almost there.
Yeah. I think Genosis named himself after something Star Trek related, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe that's the planet from the Wrath of Khan.
Maybe. Well, I mean, that was the Genesis project.
Right. I was trying to remember.
I can't remember what the name of, because
Dan told me what it was, but I'm trying
Genesis actually gets detonated on SETI Alpha 5.
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Yeah.
No, he said.
Oh, it's Star Wars. Okay.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about the factory planet. Okay. I was trying to remember.
Sorry, I'm the wrong flavor of nerd. I like Star Wars, but I'm not as. I wanted Genesis, but it was taken. Why are we getting so emotional about Hangouts? We love these things and we care about these things and we want them to do better. We don't want them killed.
Maybe it's a 1201.
Well, I was going to write it to 1201, and then that was my big eject, and we can wrap this all up.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I guess it worked out. That's funny, man. Maybe, but somebody also said that I think it was Genosis also that said that he thinks that Google's going to forget that there was a cutoff date.
I mean, again, just for us to like, just to make us anguish and like freak out about changes to the platform, and then be like, oh, we know what you're talking about. Still works perfectly fine.
Yeah, yeah. See, Genosis, yeah, he's Trek first.
Yeah, no, I'm very anxious about Picard.
Likewise.
I am tentatively very excited.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't have high hopes that, excuse me, that the series will be executed with good focus. And I
yeah.
think it's going to fall into the same trap that a lot of recent Trek, like Discovery,
Hmm.
some really good solid high points and then lots of inconsistent storytelling, and I worry about that for Picard.
Yeah, yeah. The story arc. I don't know. It almost felt like they were trying to do multiple arcs within the arc, and I'm like,
Mhm.
what are you guys doing?
And then
But
also, I'm tired of storytelling that's all hinged on nostalgia. You know,
yeah,
like, hey, you remember lightsabers? Here are lightsabers. Hey, you remember Millennium Falcon? Here's a Millennium Falcon.
yeah,
And Picard, the trailer has a little too much of that for my tastes.
yeah,
Hey, member Vulcans? There are Vulcans. Hey, member Borg? Here's the Borg. Hey,
yeah,
member the vineyard? Here's the vineyard. I want new canon. I don't want fan service canon. So I'm hoping we get Trek that can bring us back to discussing the politics of today in a science fiction-y kind of way.
yeah. No, I hear you, man. Somebody you found a loophole.
All right. I think we can call it. I
Yeah,
think we're proper done. We made it to midnight, and they didn't just cut us off. They were kind enough to let our stream run for another minute. But I think it is now time for us to say our final proper goodbye to Hangouts on Air. And we'll have other online conversations and interviews and multiple talking head podcasts, I'm sure. It just we'll have to find some other solution to get that job done.
that's it, man.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for taking this journey with me, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, no worries, man. Anytime.
And for everyone who watched and this was an amazing live chat too. I definitely appreciate you know, sticking around and joining these conversations and having some fun with us. And if you don't mind the shameless plug, these types of conversations continue to happen on Twitch and Mixer and Periscope and Twitter and Reddit, sometimes on Facebook, occasionally on Instagram. Your favorite content creators are probably making stuff all over the internet. And so wherever you are game to actively participate, go and support, go and share, go and discuss, because we could all really use that little assist right now. We're all trying to make and watch and enjoy cool stuff. And it's the community that really has the largest impact on us being able to do this.
Yeah, man. Glad to be a part of it, man.
I'm glad to have you a part. I mean, again, I'm nerding out on your headphone reviews so hard. So you
Right.
keep making me cool stuff, if nothing else.
Absolutely, man.
Right on. All right, folks, that's gonna do it. Have a good night and have fun with your technology. Go be awesome with your tech. Go do awesome with your tech. And I'll catch you all on a future live stream. Take care.